Chapter 180. When Yang Cheng said the word date, Lin Ruoshi clearly didn't react. She looked at Yang Cheng in silence. Yang Cheng thought that Lin Ruoshi wasn't used to it and that it was too sudden. So he took a step back and said, "You're not used to it? Then we could just go for dinner." Lin Ruoshi shook her head lightly and asked softly, "Do you want to change?" "Change what? What should I wear on a date?" Lin Ruoshi asked a little embarrassedly. Yang Cheng finally understood. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he didn't know how to go on a date. So he smiled easily and said, "There's no need to change. This is good, but we have to change the car. I have to take you on a date, not you driving me." Lin Ruoshi nodded anxiously. She started the car and drove the red Bentley all the way to where Yang Cheng parked his car. They got out of the car and sat in the white M3. "Where are we going?" It was their first date, so Lin Ruoshi was a little nervous and weak. Yang Cheng found extremely interesting. His wife, who was usually as cold as an iceberg, suddenly became a little girl who was like his first love. How could he stand it? He wanted to reach out and rub Lin Ruoshi's head, but he was afraid that she would go crazy. He raised 3 fingers and said, "I'll give you 3 choices. Watch a movie, go shopping, or go to the aquarium. Where do you want to go?" Lin Ruoshi's bright eyes immediately lit up. She thought for a moment and said with some anticipation, "Let's go to the aquarium. I've never been there before. I like those tropical fish. They're very beautiful. The aquarium closes very quickly at night." "Change one," Yang Cheng said. "Then go shopping is fine too. Let's see if it's one of the malls under me. Just treat it as an inspection." Lin Ruoshi settled for the next best thing. Yang Cheng shook his head. "I'm exhausted from shopping. Don't think that I don't know that when you women start shopping, you don't care about the life and death of a man." Lin Ruoshi frowned. "Where are we going then? Let's go watch a movie. We could just sit and watch. Isn't that great?" Yang Cheng said with a smile. Lin Ruoshi bit her lip in anger. She pouted and pouted. "Then why did you let me choose? Why don't you just say we're going to watch a movie?" Yang Cheng grinned. "Isn't this a demonstration of family democracy? I'll give you 3 options. Maybe you'll choose the cinema first? If you don't choose, the steering wheel is in my hands anyway. In the end, won't I have the final say? Isn't that right? Even leaders do that. Aren't you also a leader? You know, democracy, democracy, rascal. I'm getting off the car. You can go on a date by yourself." Lin Ruoshi's face was covered with a layer of ice again as she pretended to get off the car. Yang Cheng laughed. Too late. Just as he finished speaking, the BMW screeched. The tires violently rubbed against the ground. The car shot out of the parking lot like a sharp arrow. Lin Ruoshi was about to unbuckle her seatbelt when she was pressed against the seat by the recoil force. "Are you crazy? I want to get off the car." "What did you say, wife? I didn't hear you." Yang Cheng laughed. The car drew a red light on the street surrounded by neon lights, and the roaring engine attracted the attention of the passers-by. As there were fewer cars around the convention center, the car's speed kept increasing. In the end, it was like driving on a highway. There were many bends, and Yang Cheng could even pull the handbrake and do a few simple drifts. Crazy. Stop. Stop. Crazy. Crazy. In the end, Lin Ruoshi couldn't stop Yang Cheng anymore. She was worried that if she was not careful, the car would hit one of the fences. She could only cover her face with both hands and sit there as if she had accepted her fate. With the inertia of the car swayed left and right. Although it wasn't the first time she sat in Yang Cheng's fast car, Lin Ruoshi still felt that her whole soul was separated from her body. This feeling of life and death was something that couldn't be experienced by watching movies. It wasn't until they reached a more crowded road that Yang Cheng slowed down the car. Only then did Lin Ruoshi slowly put down her hands and let out a sigh of relief. Feeling that her heart was beating crazily, Lin Ruoshi didn't even have the strength to say that to Yang Cheng. She just looked at him faintly, as if her gaze could strangle Yang Cheng to death. Yang Cheng didn't care and said, "Don't look at me like that. I just think that it would be a pity if you don't enjoy the fun of racing such a good car. While you are still young, I will let you experience the joy of speed. I don't need this kind of crazy experience." Lin Ruoshi's face turned pale as she gritted her teeth. This is not the experience of a crazy person. My driving skills are good. It doesn't mean that I only drive fast, but I drive faster than others and safer than anyone else. If someone's driving skills are bad, even if they drive slowly, they will still hit something. This is my confidence, and I hope you can believe it. Yang Chung said. Lin Ruoshi sneered. A person who doesn't even have a driver's license is telling me that driving skills are safer than anyone else. What should I believe about you? Look, female benefactor, you are obsessed with appearances again. A driver's license is nothing more than a piece of paper, at most a hard piece of paper. In today's world, the academic diplomas that people spend 1 or 2 decades to obtain can no longer represent the real level of education and can even be faked. What do you think a driver's license that can be obtained in a month represents? Yang Chung said with a smile. Lin Ruoshi snorted and turned her head. I'm not going to argue with you. Your arguments are all fallacies. Good. Fallacies are also arguments. This is the same category as Einstein's theory of relativity. Why can't it be established? Since she was a child, there had never been a man who would speak in such a joking tone in front of her. Lin Ruoshi felt that it was quite interesting. She turned her head and asked, Do you want to be a monk? Yang Chun held the steering wheel with one hand and touched his chin with the other. It's fine to be a monk, but the biggest regret of a monk's life is that he's only seen a nun's body and not a woman's. I have seen the body of a woman. Seeing the body of a nun will be perfect. Lin Ruoshi thought for a long time before she understood the meaning of these words. Her face instantly turned red, and she snorted, Pervert. Then she ignored him. When they arrived at the parking lot outside the Zhonghai cinema, Lin Ruoshi took out her phone and asked Yang Chung, What movie do you want to watch? I will ask you to book a private room. Book a private room? Yang Chung was puzzled. What private room? Don't you need to book a private room to watch a movie? Lin Ruoshi asked back. After Yang Chung asked carefully, he finally understood. It turned out that Lin Ruoshi used to independently book a VIP private room on the second floor of the cinema. Moreover, the tickets were all booked by Wu Yu. She only needed to show her ID, and there would be a specialist to guide her in. It seemed that this girl had never watched a normal movie before. There's no need. Get off the car and walk over to choose a movie. Then I will buy the tickets. Why do you need to book a private room? Are you sitting on the second floor to see the people below or to watch the movie? Yang Chung said with a smile. Lin Ruoshi was not used to carrying her bag and followed behind Yang Chung. There were passers-by coming and going, and most of them were young men and women who came to watch a movie. In such a noisy atmosphere, Lin Ruoshi felt that everything was very novel. Walking to the door of the cinema's ticket office, there were movie posters on both sides. Yang Chung pouted and said, Choose. Which one do you like? Lin Ruoshi glanced back and forth, and her eyes were locked on the poster of Alice in Wonderland. After a long time, she reluctantly moved her eyes away. Looking at the other posters, she shook her head and said, I don't care. You choose. Yang Chung laughed in his heart. It seemed that she liked it, but didn't dare to say it. She was afraid that he would laugh at her for being a little girl. He pretended to ponder for a moment and said, Then let's watch Alice. The poster is quite bright. Okay. Lin Ruoshi immediately agreed with a smile. Yang Chung looked at her mischievously, and Lin Ruoshi realized that she had revealed her inner thoughts. She blushed and turned her head away. After Yang Chung bought 2 ordinary tickets, the two walked into the cinema. There were many shops selling drinks, popcorn, and other snacks around the hall. Yang Chung bought a bucket of popcorn and 2 glasses of orange juice before entering the theater. Lin Ruoshi sat in the ordinary seat in the middle of the theater. She saw that there were many men and women sitting around. Everyone was waiting for the movie to start. There were whispers all around. A paper bucket of popcorn was placed in front of her. Lin Ruoshi turned her head. In the darkness, Yang Chung was looking at her. Come take it. You haven't eaten dinner yet. Fill your stomach. It's all right, I've never eaten it before, Lin Ruoshi said softly. My dear wife, how about giving me some face? Yang Chung said as if he was coaxing a child to eat. Lin Ruoshi pouted and took the bucket of popcorn. She reached for one and stuffed it into her mouth. It was sweet, fragrant, and crispy. It had been too many years since she had eaten this kind of thing. Lin Ruashi couldn't help but eat a few more. Seeing that the woman was eating with relish, Yang Chung put the orange juice beside Lin Ruashi's seat. Drink some juice if you're thirsty. Don't choke. Lin Ruashi's heart was filled with warmth. Cheap tickets, cheap seats, cheap food and drinks, and the surrounding environment was so noisy. She had never thought of experiencing these things in person in the past. However, such a scene was much more interesting than she had imagined. Was it because she felt fresh and special, or was it because someone was accompanying her to watch a movie? Lin Ruashi sipped on the straw and drank the juice. She was immersed in a different kind of experience. The movie Alice in Wonderland on the big screen had already started. Seeing Alice's wonderful journey in the fantasy world in the movie, which seemed real and dreamlike, emerged in Lin Ruashi's mind. A sentence that she had heard in a certain drama appeared in her mind. There's a disease called Alice in Wonderland syndrome. It's like an optical illusion that you see when you look through a telescope upside down. Every day, you see a fairy tale world. It's a kind of syndrome that's both magical and sad. I definitely have that kind of syndrome. Otherwise, why would the time I spent with that good-for-nothing man become a fairy tale? Lin Ruashi had always remembered these words in her heart, but she had never experienced it. This scene quietly surged into her mind. As she thought about it, Lin Ruashi felt her cheeks burning up and turning red. So ashamed, so ashamed. When did she become so shameless? How could she think of such mushy words? But she couldn't help but occasionally glance at the person beside her and immediately lower her head. Is this girl okay? Why is her face so red? Does she have a fever? In the dark, Yang Chung noticed Lin Ruashi's strange behavior. His mind was full of questions. Chapter 181. When the movie ended, the lights in the theater lit up, and the audience left one after another, bustling toward the exit. Yang Chung looked back and found that Lin Ruashi had already finished the entire bucket of popcorn. He couldn't help but laugh. Your appetite is bigger than I thought. Lin Ruashi knew what he meant. She unknowingly finished the popcorn and explained with a pink face, I just saw that you didn't eat, so I was worried that it would be a waste. Who said I didn't eat? I saved it for you. I haven't had dinner yet. Yang Chung said. Then are we going to eat dinner? Lin Ruashi asked. She still wanted to continue. Of course, what do you want to eat? Lin Ruashi blinked and whispered, how about cake? Yang Chung groaned in his heart. It was shocking enough that his wife liked to eat glutinous rice balls, but she also liked to eat cake like a little girl. Lin Ruashi saw that Yang Chung didn't have any intention of agreeing. She felt that her proposal would not be agreed to, so she said with some disappointment, I was just casually mentioning it. If you want to eat or something else, that's fine too. Let's eat cake. I remember there's a Starbucks across from the theater. Although it's just an ordinary chain coffee shop, we can make do with it. I don't think you've eaten there before. Lin Ruashi's eyes lit up. She suppressed the joy in her heart and casually nodded. As one of the most common coffee chain brands in the world, Starbucks was indeed the choice of ordinary people. However, in Huaxia, many people seemed to regard it as a high-end consumer, which was a strange phenomenon. Lin Ruashi, who had done a lot of research on this famous chain brand, had known about it since she was young. However, due to her identity, she had never been there. Therefore, when Yang Chung suggested going to Starbucks, she was very willing to nod. The two walked out of the theater, and in the night wind, they walked towards the Starbucks across the street. Lin Ruashi was wearing a fashionable business suit from work during the day. Her hair was let down and fluttered in the wind. Her stunning beauty and the cold temperament she had accumulated since she was young attracted a lot of attention the moment she appeared. Lin Ruashi was used to this kind of attention since she was young, but Yang Chung, who was beside her, felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. After all, his woman was being stared at by others like a beast protecting its food. It was always sad. However, there was no other way. Yang Chung felt that if he, Imo Chienyi, and Lu Mingyu went out on the streets, some people would like to look at Imo Chienyi, and some would like to look at Lu Mingyu. They each had their own merits, and they were all eye-catching beauties that suited most people's tastes. However, if Lin Ruashi were to stand among them, everyone would only pay attention to Lin Ruashi. This didn't mean that Imo Chienyi and the others weren't beautiful, but some people were born with an outstanding aura. The neon lights on the roadside and the flashing headlights on the road lit up the entire downtown area of Zhonghai. The streets were filled with the hustle and bustle of people. To Lin Ruoshi, this was different from the past, because she wasn't alone in this small corner. There was someone accompanying her. Suddenly, when crossing the road, Lin Ruoshi felt a hot hand holding her left hand. Rough, thick, hot, and hard, it made Lin Ruoshi's heart beat faster. She turned her head to look at Yang Cheng and saw Yang Cheng winking at her. Be careful when crossing the road. This is a pedestrian crossing. Lin Ruoshi wasn't used to it, but she didn't struggle. You have to hold hands on a date, Yang Cheng said with a smile. Lin Ruoshi pursed her lips, looked down at the road, and didn't say anything. After holding hands and walking into Starbucks, Lin Ruoshi looked around curiously. After all, she had never been here before. She went to the counter and ordered a strawberry cake and hot mocha, while Yang Cheng ordered an American-style iced coffee and 2 chocolate cakes. Since there weren't many people at this time, it was quickly served. The two took the coffee and cake to a table near the window and sat down. They looked at the night view of the street outside the window while eating slowly. The cafe was playing a melodious flute canon, and the melody was light and relaxing. Lin Ruoshi ate the strawberry cake very slowly. After taking small bites, she looked around the layout of the cafe and asked Yang Cheng, "Do you know how Starbucks was born?" Yang Cheng was eating the cake with a spoon. "I don't know. What's so special about it? I read the biography of Mr. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, which told a story before he founded Starbucks." Lin Ruoshi said faintly. When Mr. Schultz was young, his father lost his job, and his family was very poor. To make his father happy, he stole a can of coffee beans from a shop for his father at Christmas. His father was very happy at the time, but in the end, because the shop owner came to ask for money, Mr. Schultz was beaten up. After that, the relationship between him and his father became very stiff. Yang Cheng put down his spoon and saw Lin Ruoshi's thoughtful look. He knew that she might be thinking about her family and her crazy father, so he couldn't help but listen carefully. Mr. Schultz swore at that time that he would have the money to buy the best coffee to prove it to his father. So, he kept studying hard, and in the most difficult time, he used his football skills to get scholarship. He went to university and all the way to a world-famous company, where he got a senior position with a monthly salary of more than $70,000. After he became successful, he bought the best Brazilian coffee beans for his father and told his father that it was to prove to him that he was beaten up for that kind of coffee beans many years ago. His father asked, "You did so much for such a boring thing." Mr. Schultz was very angry. After that, he became estranged from his father and even told others that his father was dead until his father died. Mr. Schultz refused to go home to see him, saying that he had to discuss business. Until one day, when he was sorting out his father's belongings, he found the can of coffee that was stolen from his father many years ago. He realized that his father had kept that can of coffee and had always treasured that memory. At that time, he regretted it very much because he also saw a crumpled letter in the can. On it was written that Schultz's father's biggest dream was to have a warm cafe and grind coffee beans for his wife and children. Unfortunately, his incompetence prevented him from realizing this dream. Other than beating his children, he really couldn't think of a way to let his children know that he was their father. So, Mr. Schultz and his wife founded Starbucks together, and it has been developed to this day. "Thinking of your father?" Yang Cheng asked. Lin Ruoshi nodded. "I used to hope that my father would be like Mr. Schultz's father. Although he didn't treat me well, he loved me deeply in his heart. But, in the end, hope and reality are not the same." Yang Cheng knew that this was nothing more than a wake-up call. He said softly, "So there's such a story. It seems that you have read all the books you bought." Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at him. "Do you think I'm just a piece of paper to paste on the wall?" Yang Cheng smiled. "Don't worry. I will be a capable father in the future. I can still grind coffee beans for my wife and children." Lin Ruoshi blushed. Although she hoped that Yang Cheng would work hard, she didn't want to admit it. "Who wants you to grind coffee beans? When did I promise to give birth to your children?" Yang Cheng asked mischievously. "Did I say you're the wife and the child are yours?" Maybe after a while, you don't want me anymore, and I will change my wife? You're thinking too much. You. Stop talking nonsense. Be careful, or I will pour it on you. Lin Ruoshi glared at Yang Chung angrily. She picked up the hot mocha on the table, stood up, and pretended to pour it on Yang Chung. Although Yang Chung knew that she was just threatening him, he still hugged his chest and shrank back. Even if you are angry, don't pour it on my clothes. It's not a matter of clothes. Rogue. Rogue. Lin Ruoshi gritted her teeth. She took back the coffee cup and drank a mouthful of hot coffee. There was a layer of milky cream on the surface of the hot mocha coffee. When Lin Ruoshi drank it casually, the cream immediately stained her thin and well-defined upper lip. Yang Chung saw the milky line and couldn't help but sigh. Look, why do you women like to do this? Only when you are with a woman will you be clean. When you are with your husband, you like to smear cream on your lips? Are you still pretending that you don't know anything? Lin Ruoshi realized that there was something on her lips. She felt embarrassed to lick it, so she wanted to wipe it off. However, there was no napkin on the table, so she wanted to take it from her bag. Don't look around. It's too troublesome. I will help you solve it. Yang Chung said as he leaned over and moved closer to Lin Ruoshi's flawless face. As the distance between their faces was getting closer, Lin Ruoshi gradually realized what Yang Chung wanted to do. Her watery eyes widened, and for a moment, her heart was in a mess. It was as if the world was a blank. Finally, Yang Cheng's lips kissed Lin Ruoshi's lips that were covered with cream. It was cool, soft, and had a milky fragrance. Lin Ruoshi was stunned, as if a spring thunder had exploded. Even after Yang Chun returned to his seat, Lin Ruoshi was still sitting there in a daze, not knowing what to do. Yang Chung felt that this woman was very cute. Why? I think the paper towels will consume the wood pulp and damage the environment. Do you want me to use clothes? You bought them for me, and you can't bear to wipe them. Lin Ruoshi came to her senses. She actually let him kiss her. Although he was her husband in name, and she was not taken advantage of, it was still a kiss. When she lost her virginity to him, it was also in a daze. The two of them did not feel anything at all, but now they could really feel each other's breath and temperature. Thinking of this, Lin Ruoshi's dimples were so charming that water could almost be squeezed out. Don't do this in the future. Also, I asked someone to buy the clothes. I can't be bothered to buy them for you. Such a beautiful scene is ruined by your unromantic words. Can't you just pretend that you bought them? Yang Chung lectured with a helpless smile. So noisy. Hurry up and eat. This is a cake. Then hurry up and eat the cake. Lin Ruoshi lowered her head, and the blush on her face could not fade. She began to speed up eating the cake as if she had a grudge against it. But with every bite, why did it feel like the cake had been added with honey? It was extraordinarily sweet. Chapter 182. After the weekend, Yulei's autumn fashion show also came to an end. Logically speaking, everyone had more free time. However, after the successful kiss with Lin Ruoshi that night, Lin Ruoshi avoided Yang Chung like a tiger. She didn't even dare to look him in the eye. Every day, she would quickly finish her meal and hide in the study room to work. Yang Chung was also very helpless about this. Who knew that this wife of his was as shy as a cicada's wing? If he knew this would happen, he would have kissed her a few more times. He would not have to worry about personal gains and losses. After 2 leisurely days of holidays, Li Muhua, who had brought her team to Zhonghai from Hong Kong, finally arrived in the afternoon. According to the schedule, the CEOs of the 3 companies would go to the closed conference room of the Emperor Building together in the evening to finalize the final agreement. The person who went to the airport to welcome Li Muhua was Yang Chung. Yang Chung was wearing a suit and tie, and he was standing in the airport with a cigarette in his mouth. In the end, he was pushed out by the airport staff. In the end, he used his phone to contact Li Muhua, and they met outside the airport. Li Muhua's bodyguards were very angry. They thought that this was disrespectful to Li Muhua. However, Li Muhua was especially happy because he knew very well that Yang Chung treated him casually, which meant that Yang Chung did not suspect or guard against him. If Yang Chung suddenly became extremely polite to him, he would not be able to sleep well, and he would not be able to eat or sleep well. Mr. Yang, long time no see. You are still as elegant as ever. Li Muhua extended his hand to Yang Cheng without hesitation. Yang Cheng wiped his hand on his pants before shaking hands with Li Muhua. I'm sorry. The fried dumplings I had this morning were a little greasy, but I think second brotherly won't mind. Li Muhua smiled bitterly. You call me second brother, Li, in front of everyone? This is not a good thing in the mainland. After a brief conversation, Yang Cheng led the group to the 5 bright black Mercedes-Benz S600 that Yu Lei had specially sent. The officials of Muyun, their entourage, and bodyguards also needed these cars. Lin Ruoxi could not even finish driving her own luxury cars. Naturally, the company's luxury cars for welcoming guests were many. When Lin Ruoxi casually said that she would give Yang Cheng 5 Mercedes-Benz S600, Yang Cheng was shocked. Having a rich wife was very stressful. How can an ordinary man bear it? Before leaving the house, Lin Ruoxi handed a traffic map to Yang Cheng. On the map, there were some places that they had to pass on the way to pick up Li Muhua and the others to their hotel. There were many red dots, and they all needed to be explained. Puzzled, Yang Cheng opened the map and looked at it. He was instantly dumbfounded. All the places marked on the map were Yu Lei International's and Lin Ruoxi's private properties. Moreover, these were only on this route. Within Zhonghai, there was no need to mention the entire country and the rest of the world. No wonder her net worth was tens of billions. Yang Cheng felt that if Lin Ruoxi was willing to accept the evaluation of the international media, she would really be one of the world's top 100 billionaires. Yang Cheng wondered what kind of strong woman her grandmother was to be able to create such a business empire all by herself. From the looks of it, this rich girl was actually keeping a low profile. The intention of letting Yang Cheng look at this map couldn't be more obvious. It was to explain to Li Muhua along the way that her partner was very rich so that he could rest assured. This cooperation was absolutely safe. Of course, it could also be a certain female boss who liked to eat glutinous rice balls and strawberry cakes in private. Her queen aura was revealed, and the arrogance in her heart was reflected. Sitting in the extremely spacious carriage, Yang Cheng held the map in his hand. According to Lin Ruoxi's request, he had to memorize it. However, Yang Cheng felt that memorizing it was a small matter. Talking so much with Li Lauer was not a simple matter. After all, he had no interest in men. After thinking about it, Yang Cheng handed the map to Li Muhua, who was sitting beside him. Mr. Yang, what is this? Li Muhua curiously took the map. Yang Cheng said, My wife gave it to me before I went out. She asked me to tell you all the points on this map. These are the property of my company and my wife. In fact, it was to give you a reassurance before signing the agreement. Our company is very rich. Li Muhua unfolded the map and saw the red dots all over the map. There were all kinds of forest villas, department stores, hotels, shopping centers, fashion beauty salons, entertainment clubs. Mr. Yang said, This is the property of your wife and your company? Li Muhua had a strange feeling in his heart. He didn't believe it. These properties all belonged to Yu Lei International. He could understand it. Before, he had secretly investigated Yu Lei International and Lin Ruoxi's personal assets. But Yang Cheng's wife, Yang Cheng nodded. Why? You have secretly investigated so much. Didn't you find out that the CEO of Yu Lei International is my wife? Li Muhua's head exploded. It was like a bolt from the blue. It wasn't that he was too shocked by the news itself, but he thought of the night when he said in front of Yang Cheng that he wanted to get close to Lin Ruoxi or Emotiani to develop a personal relationship. He also said that Lin Ruoxi was his best partner. No wonder this man has been giving me a bad face. It seems that killing him is secondary. The main thing is that I have thoughts on his woman. All men couldn't stand this. Li Muhua finally knew which part of Yang Chen's reverse scale he had touched. Thinking of this, he felt extremely grateful that he was still alive. Li Muhua's smile was uglier than crying. Mr. Yang, I really didn't know that you and General Lin were husband and wife. If you knew, you would probably want to kill me even more, right? Yang Cheng said with a strange smile. Li Muhua's face suddenly turned blue, and his lips turned pale. Yang Cheng's smile reminded him of the scene of his left hand covered with flesh and blood that night. He hurriedly shook his hand. No, no, no. I wouldn't dare to go against Mr. Yang, even if I ate a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. Mr. Yang, please don't say that again. My heart can't stand it. Yang Chen shrugged. Smiling nonchalantly, he said, Don't be nervous. Our marriage is still a secret, so it's fine as long as you know what you're doing. Don't do anything wrong at this crucial moment. I still have high hopes for you. At least, you're a true villain in my eyes. At least you're more pleasing to the eye than some hypocrites. Nonsense. Of course, I can only be a real villain if you see through me. Li Muhua cursed in his heart, but he had to smile flatteringly. However, Yang Cheng turned out to be Lin Ruoshi's husband. This made Li Muhua more and more curious about Yang Cheng's background. After all, Lin Ruoshi had some special national background hidden behind her. So the big families in the upper-class domain had a rough understanding of it. He didn't believe that Yang Cheng could become Lin Ruoshi's husband just by relying on his extraordinary martial strength. After a short rest, at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Yang Cheng took Li Muhua and the others to the closed conference hall of the Emperor Building. There, Lin Ruoshi and several core staff of Yulei, as well as Zheng Xinlin and others from Changlin Media, were already waiting. When Li Muhua and the others entered the conference hall, Lin Ruoshi and Zheng Xinlin came up to greet them. The leaders of the three companies finally met for the first time in a strict sense. However, everyone was clear-minded and had done a lot of homework behind the scenes. They knew a lot of things and didn't need to say much. Therefore, it was especially easy for them to talk. Yang Cheng looked at the people from the three parties and felt bored listening to them. Since his work was done, he planned to go out for a walk. There were many entertainment facilities in the Emperor Building. When the contract signing ceremony ended, it would be at least 10 o'clock in the evening. After all, these people still had to talk about some things while eating dinner. Just when he was thinking about whether he should go for a foot massage or call a girl for a massage, his phone suddenly vibrated. He took a look and saw that it was a text message from Mo Chieni. This woman was still clingy when they were in Hong Kong. After returning from Hong Kong, she had been keeping a distance from him. She could be considered a tolerant person. Go out and turn left. Let's meet in the corridor. I have something to say. Yang Cheng glanced at Mo Chieni, who was chatting and laughing with a few management members of Muyun Corporation. He was amazed by her blind texting skills and walked out first. After waiting for nearly 10 minutes, Mo Chieni, who was dressed in a white professional suit, gracefully walked out. Today, she had put on light makeup, and her eyebrows were picturesque. She wore a pair of fashionable emerald earrings, which set off her charming and pretty face, making it look especially radiant. Seeing that Yang Cheng was already waiting, Mo Chieni stuck out her pink tongue in embarrassment. I didn't wait long, right? Those people were too enthusiastic, so I lied and left. It's okay. It's rare that my little Qian still remember to talk to me after returning to Zhonghai. It's worth waiting for a day, Yang Cheng said. Angry? Don't be so petty. You also know that Ruoshi is very sensitive. We've been on a business trip for so many days, and so many things happen together. How could she not think too much? I don't want to ruin everyone's relationship because of me, Mo Chieni said bitterly. Yang Cheng pretended to be deep in thought and said, It's fine if you don't get angry. As he said that, he pointed at his right cheek. Mo Chieni pouted and looked around to make sure that there was no one around. Then, she closed her eyes and agreed to kiss him. However, before she could kiss him, Yang Cheng turned his face and kissed her on the mouth. Feeling the back of her head being held by Yang Cheng's hand, Mo Chieni couldn't move. Her pink lips were instantly invaded, and a hot tongue opened her teeth. For a moment, Mo Chieni's body was so weak that she could only moan. It was only when her soul was about to leave her body that she was released. While panting, Mo Chieni's face was like a peach blossom. She rebuked Yang Cheng and hit his chest. Seeing that he was still smirking, she couldn't help but hit him a few more times to vent her anger. I have business to talk to you about. You only know how to take advantage of me. This is also business. But seeing that you've served me well, I'll listen to you. Yang Chung said with a magnanimous face. Mo Chinny pretended not to see that annoying look and said seriously, "Come home with me." Chapter 183. Go home. Yes, to my house. Yang Chung looked at Mo Chinny's burning eyes and said shyly, "Are you in a hurry? Although I know that there is only a 1 in 6 billion chance that a good man like me will be born in this world, you don't have to be in such a hurry to ask me to go to your house again. We just went a while ago. It would be embarrassing to go again so soon. Actually, if you want to give yourself to me, you can find a better hotel. Of course, I'm very open. If you want to go out in the wild, I don't mind. Didn't the ancients say that the sky is the blanket and the earth is the seat? The cold wind will cool your butt, and your fighting power will last longer. But going to your house is also a good choice, but I don't know if the bed in your room is big enough. Your figure is considered big for a woman, and if the two of us roll around, the small bed won't be able to take it." Mo Chinny was at a loss at first, but the more she listened, the more she felt that something was amiss. Eventually, her cheeks turned crimson. Clenching her teeth, she said, "Yang Chun, who said I want to sacrifice myself for you? I said I want you to accompany me to my hometown in Chuan Province. I want you to go with me and bring my mother to Zhonghai." Yang Chung was embarrassed and mumbled, "Can you be more clear? How do I know which house you want to go to?" "Then do you understand now?" Mo Chinny asked impatiently. Yang Chung nodded. He also remembered that after he helped Mo Chinny get rid of her stepfather, Zhang Fuge, Mo Chinny mentioned that she wanted to bring her mother to Zhonghai to enjoy a happy life. He asked confusedly, "I remember you said this before. Why do you suddenly want me to go with you?" Mo Chinny blushed and said shyly, "When I talked to my mother on the phone last time, she said that if I can bring a boyfriend to meet her, she will consider coming to Zhonghai. It won't take a few days, and I plan to go back to my hometown to bring my mother over." Yang Chung suddenly understood. When parents watch their children grow up, they're always anxious about their children's marriage. Mo Chinny is not young anymore. As her mother, she is naturally worried that she will not be able to find a good husband. This problem could be big or small. If Yang Chung went with Mo Chinny, it was equivalent to telling Lin Ruoshi that the relationship between her and Mo Chinny was likely to face the end of their marriage, and the friendship between the two women might also face the collapse. However, given Lin Ruoshi's character, she probably wouldn't react much. She would just let out a cold snort. Mo Chinny looked at Yang Chung uneasily. This was undoubtedly a difficult choice. A woman's mind was sometimes very complicated. She knew that this could lead to an unmanageable situation in the future, but in love and friendship, she still desperately hoped to know if Yang Chung would not give up on her. This was the sensibility of women. "If that's the case, then I will go with you." Yang Chung did not think too much and agreed. Mo Chinny's heart that was in her throat was put down. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand, and her eyes were red from smiling. "Then how do you plan to tell Ruoshi?" "I will tell the truth. There is nothing that can't be seen." Yang Chung knew that some things could not be hidden in the end. Whether it was Mo Chinny, Chiang Wei, Anshin, or Lu Mingyu, he could not hide these beauties in the darkness for the rest of his life. He also did not think of deliberately hiding them. Perhaps the reality of morality did not allow him to have so many wives, but when a person has transcended the constraints of the secular world, then he would not care too much about these things. Mo Chinny wiped the corner of her eyes, pursed her lips, and said with a smile, "I don't need to guess to know how Ruoshi will react." "What will she do?" Yang Chung asked curiously. "She will definitely agree, and then she will not ask anything about our relationship," Mo Chinny said with certainty. Yang Chung frowned. "Why?" "Because as long as she does not ask, you will not take the initiative to say it. If you do not say it, then no matter how much we develop, it will not be made public. She will always be your only legal wife, the mistress of that family. You must take care of her first." Mo Chinny smiled bitterly. To put it bluntly, if she does not say anything, then a mistress will always be a mistress. She will never be able to make it in this life. But she's not the only one who makes the decision. "I'm the one who makes the decision," Yang Chen said. Mo Chinny squinted at him and asked with a smile, "Yes, but will you divorce her for me?" Yang Chung was stunned. This was obviously impossible. Although he had more than one woman in his heart, he had already gotten used to treating the cold Lin Ruoshi as his wife, the villa and dragon garden as his home, and the mother Wang, who took care of his life, as his family. He was even mentally prepared to live like this for the rest of his life. If Lin Ruoshi had not said anything, he would never have thought of divorcing her for another woman. At this moment, Yang Cheng's eyes revealed some understanding. No wonder she never asked me about my relationship with other women. She did not seem to care at all. I did not expect there to be such a reason. Don't think that Ruoshi is a fool when it comes to relationships and doesn't understand anything. She may not know how to manage a relationship between two people, but she is definitely a successful businesswoman and a brilliant manager. Anyone who underestimates her because she's a woman, because of her age, and because of her experience will regret it. Mo Chinny said seriously. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Now that you mention it, it sounds like our Ruoshi is a terrifying schemer. Ruoshi is a schemer, and she has conditions that other schemers do not have. Mo Chinny smiled mysteriously. What conditions? You will understand soon. Mo Chinny winked playfully. Yang Cheng did not have the habit of getting to the bottom of things. Even though he was curious, he did not continue to ask Mo Chinny. Mo Chinny still had things to attend to at the dinner party and the negotiation, so she left first. Before she left, she reminded Yang Cheng again not to forget to tell Lin Ruoshi that she was going to Sichuan province. Yang Cheng, who had become a loner again, did not stay idle. He looked at the map of the floors and decided to go down to the foot massage center. The people of Huaxia were definitely one of the groups that knew how to enjoy life the most in the world. On the streets and alleys, you only needed to pay tens or hundreds of yuan to have young ladies obediently massage your feet. Even a high-end club like the Monarch building would cost less than 1,000 yuan. To the rich people who frequented this place, it was just a drop in the bucket. Yang Cheng did not intend to take the elevator. He directly entered from the emergency exit and arrived at the empty staircase. However, before Yang Cheng could walk down the stairs, he suddenly noticed that right in front of him, outside the black glass window, there was a moving figure climbing up. The exterior glass structure of the Monarch building was huge. It was also a rather complicated structure. It was a sun shield made of cement and stainless steel. The figure was using a set of rope tools similar to rock climbing. If there was no accident, she was using the gear device at the top of the building, combined with her own climbing ability, to climb up to the top floor. Of course, Yang Cheng could not ignore it. After all, if it was a criminal who wanted to cause trouble, it was likely to affect the lives of the people he cared about. So, he immediately walked to the window and pulled open the large glass window. "Don't move." A clear voice came from the dark night wind, and a bright pistol was aimed at Yang Cheng's head. Yang Cheng was stunned, and the person holding the gun was also stunned. "It's you? Why are you here?" The two of them said the same thing almost at the same time. This woman was none other than the female police officer that Yang Cheng had quite a few interactions with, Kai Yin, who gave Yang Cheng quite a headache. At the moment, Choi Yun was wearing a black leather jacket, which outlined her hot and sexy figure. Her small waist was tied with a rope, which was connected to a set of gear climbing device. Her short black hair looked valiant and neat in a strong cold wind. This scene made Yang Cheng momentarily dazed. Sometimes, the charm of a man lies in the femininity of a woman, and the beauty of a woman lies in the heroism of a man. Choi Yun slowly put down the gun and looked at Yang Cheng with an unfriendly expression. She asked, "Tell me first, why are you here? Today is the day that Yulei is signing contracts with other companies. I'm one of the people in charge, so of course I'm here." Yang Cheng looked at Choi Yun playfully. "But Bureau Chief Kai, are you trying to be a thief or practicing glass climbing?" Choi Yun saw that Yang Cheng didn't look like he was pretending, so she immediately said, "If there's nothing else, leave quickly. I have an important case to investigate. If I'm discovered, then all my efforts will be in vain and my life will be in danger. Leave now." Yang Cheng stuck his head out of the window and looked up. The private room on the upper floor was brightly lit. Obviously, Choi Yun wanted to use this unusual method to investigate the situation inside. Bureau Chief Kai, I'll give you a kind suggestion. You should hurry up and come in. You should know that if this rope of yours snaps, you'll fall tens of floors down. Even your bones will be ground to dust. Yang Chun pointed at the gloomy area that overlooked the sky. The Emperor building had at least 50 to 60 floors. If she fell down from here, the beauty would immediately become an unlucky girl. I don't need you to care about what I do, Choi Yun said impatiently. You think I like to care about you? It's mainly because you're my wife's friend. I have to persuade you. No matter how capable you are, you're still a woman. Some of the work should be left to the men below. You're taking the lead and completely disregarding your own life. Do you think that's what a leader should do? If something happens to you, how will the people below take responsibility? You're being stupid, not brave, Yang Chang said bluntly. Choi Yun actually realized that her raid was too reckless. But after being criticized by Yang Chang, she refused to admit defeat. Say whatever you want. If you stop me again, I'll sue you for obstructing official business. After that, Choi Yun continued to climb up, ignoring Yang Chang. Yang Chang frowned. There was some anger in his heart. This woman really didn't know what was good for her. He was hesitating whether or not to let her do what she wanted. But at this moment, at the window of the private room on the top floor, the curtains were pulled open. In front of the closed floor-to-ceiling window, a figure stood out. He grinned and looked down at Choi Yun, who was climbing up. Chapter 184. Choi Yun was now in an awkward position. Up, she was about 2 meters away from that floor, and down, she was more than a meter away from the window where Yang Chang was. The short-haired man who suddenly appeared was holding a silver Desert Eagle pistol. His thick arm bulged out his suit. One could imagine how strong his arm must be to be able to use the Desert Eagle with one hand. The man looked at it with amusement, then aimed at the rope that Choi Yun used for safety outside the window. As long as the shot was fired, Choi Yun would fall from the dozens of floors of the building because of the broken rope and be smashed to pieces. Choi Yun didn't even have time to regret. Hanging in the air, she could only wait for death. There was almost no chance for her to escape. Untie the rope. Quick! Below, Yang Cheng's shout made Choi Yun's mind instantly clear up. Looking down, she saw that Yang Cheng had already stretched out his body and reached out his hands, trying to catch her. At such an angle, it was definitely not easy to catch a person with only his outstretched hands, even if it was a relatively light woman. Perhaps even world-class weightlifters couldn't catch a falling woman. Moreover, her waist was leaning against the window, and it was difficult to use all of her strength. Choi Yun hesitated, because she knew that if Yang Cheng used both hands to catch her, even if he only held her in the end, it was very likely that he would drag Yang Cheng down. He should also understand this. But why did he still want to catch me without hesitation? Was he doing it on purpose? Impossible. All of this must have been noticed by the people standing on the upper floor. There was no need for him to take the risk to trick her into jumping off the building. Moreover, did she have a choice? However, Choi Yun didn't want to accept such an unexpected favor. Even if this man didn't give her a good impression, Choi Yun didn't want to drag others down. Bang, bang. 2 gunshots rang out. The short-haired man standing at the window had already fired. However, due to the refraction of the glass, the bullet's trajectory was obstructed. He failed to hit Choi Yun's rope and only shattered the tempered glass window into pieces. Seeing that Choi Yun was hesitant, Yang Cheng scolded angrily. If you don't jump, then you're a sow. What did you say? Choi Yun was so angry that her face turned red. I said you are a sow. You don't dare to let me know how heavy you are. Yang Cheng shouted. Choi Yun was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. This guy actually dared to insult her to her face like this. So what if he jumped? At most, they would die together. Before she died, she would still get rid of a scourge for the people. Just as the short-haired man was about to shoot Choi Yun's body, Choi Yun undid the buckle on her waist, and her body fell straight down. At this moment, Choi Yun suddenly realized one thing. Her decision was undoubtedly giving her life to Yang Cheng. A pair of big hands easily lifted Choi Yun's body. Before she could think about it, she was already carried from the window into the corridor. However, Yang Cheng's posture was a bit ambiguous. Choi Yun felt a hot big hand was holding her buttocks. Her sensitive buttocks were squeezed and covered. She couldn't help but let out a moan, even if she knew that this was not the right time. Yang Cheng didn't think so much. After putting down Choi Yun, he didn't have the leisure to look at Choi Yun's pretty face that was burning hot. He immediately said, "Their people must have found us. If there is no accident, they will immediately come to this corridor to chase us. I will stop them here. You go downstairs first." As soon as he finished speaking, there was the sound of running in the corridor above. A few black shadows broke in. Choi Yun didn't have time to object. She was pushed away by Yang Cheng. She staggered and almost fell down the stairs. However, Yang Cheng's dexterity was just right. Choi Yun turned around and leaned against the wall so that she didn't fall. "If you're smart, go and call for help. If you drag me down, we will all die together." As Yang Cheng spoke, he had already run up the stairs. The two black-shirt men who came out first were shouting, but they were already suppressed by Yang Cheng's two punches from below. Towards Yang Cheng's rudeness, Choi Yun didn't have any dissatisfaction. When she saw Yang Cheng rush up alone to fend off the waves of thugs, Choi Yun felt her eyes burning. She had always suspected him, mocked him, and even wanted to arrest him as a suspect. But he was actually going to fend off those vicious people for her. He didn't even say anything. Just because she was Lin Ruashi's friend, was it worth risking his life for? These thoughts only flashed through her mind for a moment. Choi Yun knew that Yang Cheng was speaking the truth. If she didn't escape, she would only be a burden. Therefore, she ran as fast as she could and practically jumped down the stairs. When Choi Yun ran into the safe floor, she heard the loud and tragic sounds of gunshots coming from the corridor. Choi Yun felt her heart skip a beat. She shouted at the 7 or 8 police officers who had come to help. "Get your guns. Follow me upstairs immediately. The rest of you, maintain order in the building. Seal off the entire building's exit." Obviously, the sound of gunshots would cause the people inside the building to feel uneasy. Therefore, as the police chief, her priority was to ensure that no innocent people were injured or killed. Moreover, the target of the investigation had already opened fire. Therefore, regardless of whether there was any other evidence, they could be arrested. Leading a group of equally anxious police officers, Choi Yun took the lead and rushed upstairs again. There was only one thought in her mind. Was he all right? When they arrived at the floor where they had escaped, Choi Yun and the group of police officers were shocked. The corridor was filled with corpses. Blood stained a large area of the floor. The group of burly men in black, who had died with grievances, looked as if they had seen the most horrifying thing before they died. Their expressions were extremely distorted. When Choi Yun didn't see Yang Cheng among the group of people, she felt relieved. She directed a group of police officers to continue to go upstairs. She pushed open the emergency exit door and looked outside. She was shocked again. On the carpet in the corridor, there were more than a dozen bodyguards in similar suits and leather shoes lying on the ground. These people were still holding guns before they died, but without exception, all of them had a bullet hole in their heads. Blood and a white sticky substance burst out. Among them was a man that Choi Yun would never forget. It was the guy who had tried to use the Desert Eagle to break her rope. At that moment, he was also lying on the ground, lifeless. There was still no Yang Cheng here. There was only one thought left in Choi Yun's mind that made her scalp tingle. In the gunfight, just now, it was that man who single-handedly killed this group of people. With Choi Yun's thinking, she couldn't figure out how a person could do this. This was no different from braving a hail of bullets to fight hand-to-hand. Those were bullets. Finally, Choi Yun understood why her elusive sister would seriously warn her not to provoke that man. "Chief, what should we do next?" A deputy police officer immediately asked Choi Yun. They were already a loss about the situation in front of them. Choi Yun took a deep breath, calmed herself down, and said, "Lock down this place and send people to deal with the scene immediately. Today's incident must be kept secret. When it is announced to the outside world, just say that these people died in a gunfight." The police officers were very puzzled, but Choi Yun usually had too much power, and she had a strong background. They subconsciously didn't dare to ask too many questions and began to carry out her orders. Choi Yun looked at the corridor full of corpses and recalled the thrilling scene just now. Her lips curled into a subtle smile, and she muttered to herself, "Scoundrel, why didn't you say anything before you left? You made me worry for nothing." At the same time, Yang Chung, who had already leisurely taken the elevator to the foot massage center in the middle of the building, was being led to a private room by a slender lady boss in a fiery red cheongsam. Since becoming a millionaire, Yang Cheng's spending had also become more casual. Although he was alone, he directly booked a double room because a single room was too small and it was uncomfortable to share it with someone else. Although the battle just now seemed to be understated to Yang Chung. After all, those people were only thugs, and they didn't even have the level of special forces soldiers. He still killed more than a dozen people. He was a little annoyed, and it was best to call a girl to massage him. If it wasn't for the fact that he still had to attend the contract signing ceremony at night, Yang Chung would have gone to find Chiang Wei to have a verbal exchange. That girl with violent tendencies would definitely like to hear him talk about how he killed people. But just as he was walking towards the room, a familiar person walked towards him. He wore a loose silk top and black linen pants. The material was old, and the style was very old-fashioned, giving off a very retro vibe. He had a smile on his face, just like the old man next door. The person walking towards him was none other than Zhou Guangyin, who he had only met once. He was also the Dongxing boss that Zhou Dongsheng had forced to take a stand earlier that day. "Mr. Yang, why are you in such a good mood to also come here to wash your feet?" Zhou Guangyin was very amiable and said with a red face. Originally, Yang Chung didn't want to greet him. In fact, seeing that he was here, he could basically confirm that the group of people just now was related to him. But Yang Chung didn't care about this. That was the police's business, and he was only here to wash his feet. "Mr. Zhou, are you not going to collect the corpses?" Yang Chung asked. Zhou Guangyin's face was full of confusion. "Collect the corpses? Collect what corpses? Oh, then just treat it as me talking too much." Yang Chung smiled. I was about to leave. Zhou Guanyin stopped Yang Chung with a "hey" and said indifferently, "Mr. Yang, there's something I hope you can listen to." "What is it?" Zhou Guangyin moved closer and said, "Leave some leeway in everything and mind your own business. Your words don't connect. They don't connect." Yang Chung pretended to be distressed as he said, "It's good that the meaning is there," Zhou Guangyin said calmly. Yang Chung chuckled. "I thought you would say cornered. That's not impossible." Zhou Guangyin's face turned ugly. "Then I'll wait for you to jump." When Yang Chung finished speaking, he turned around and left without looking back. A man next to Zhou Guangyin asked with a ferocious expression, "President, this kid doesn't know how to appreciate favors. He destroyed our business, killed our guest, and even dared to treat the president like this. President, why didn't you let me shoot him?" "Can you shoot him?" Zhou Guangyin asked expressionlessly. The man was silent. He knew that he was indeed powerless. "This young man isn't simple. If we want to touch him, we have to kill him in one shot." Zhou Guangyin sneered. "Let's go downstairs. Those who died are just a bunch of stupid pigs, nothing to worry about. We should cooperate with the police's investigation. I, Zhou Guangyin, am a law-abiding businessman." Chapter 185. After Yang Chung finished massaging his smelly feet, he wore a new pair of socks and a pair of cotton slippers and returned to the clubhouse on the top floor of the Imperial Building. The negotiation between the three parties had already been completed during the banquet. However, the number of bodyguards outside the venue had obviously doubled. Obviously, the news of the shooting incident had already spread throughout the entire building. However, due to the police lockdown, everyone could only continue to negotiate here. When Lin Ruoshi saw Yang Chung walking into such a formal occasion with his trousers rolled up and slippers like an old farmer, she really wanted to strangle him to death. Li Muhua and Zheng Xinling grinned at Yang Chung. "Mr. Yang, it's a pity that you didn't participate in our conversation." Li Muhua was also very polite to Yang Chung, even though Yang Chung was just an insignificant employee of Yulei International. Yang Chung waved his hand. "I don't understand even if I participated in it. Are you guys done?" "I haven't had dinner yet. I still need to eat later. It was indeed admirable for him to say such words in front of so many higher-ups of the company. Luckily, everyone didn't care about it and just laughed it off as if they were looking at a clown. Zhang Xinlin said to Lin Ruoxi amiably, Ruoxi, since everyone is almost done discussing, let's enter the final signing stage. I'm fine with it, Director Li. Lin Ruoxi asked Li Muhua. Li Muhua smiled. I've been waiting for a long time, huh? After the three parties made the decision, the assistants of each party immediately placed the corrected and reprinted contracts on the long signature table. The people from the three companies all smiled and stood behind their respective CEOs, full of anticipation. After all, everyone was very clear that such a collaboration would bring them immeasurable profits in the end. Mo Qinyi also brought a new pair of leather shoes for Yang Cheng out of nowhere and urged, hurry up and change into them. What do you look like in slippers? We're going back soon. Why do you need to change your shoes? Yang Cheng smiled indifferently. His shoes were stained with blood, so he threw them away. Mo Qinyi rolled her eyes at him. It's not over yet. I still have places to go after signing the agreement. Yang Cheng scratched his head in confusion. There's an activity to participate in? You've already had dinner and signed the agreement. Why aren't you sleeping? I told you to wear it, so wear it. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Yang Cheng obediently put on his leather shoes and stood behind Lin Ruoxi with Mo Qinyi. Page after page of the contract was signed, and it took almost 5 minutes to complete. All the details were confirmed, and this expensive contract came into effect immediately. At this moment, the executives of the three companies shook hands with each other with smiles on their faces. Even Yang Cheng also greeted a few people he didn't know. The only person he knew was the fat vice president of Changlin, Lu Tao. Lin Ruoxi also shook hands with Li Muhua and Zhang Xinlin and said lightly, according to the agreement, our Yulei will transfer 5 billion Huaxia dollars to the shared Swiss bank account before noon tomorrow. Our Changlin will also transfer 5 billion. At that time, together with the 2 billion from President Li's Miyun Group and the technical support, I think the new material products will be available in less than half a year, Zhang Xinlin said with a smile. Li Muhua said confidently, with the strong support from the two companies, our products will definitely be available earlier. At that time, even if the Su family has the Green Laboratory, they won't be able to compete with our 12 billion due to the lack of funds. Whoever enters the market first will have the upper hand, and the two of you can rest assured and reap the benefits from it. After exchanging some pleasantries, the three companies began to bid their goodbyes and prepare for the launch of the project tomorrow. As the host, Yulei was the last to leave. Under the lead of Mo Qinyi, Yang Cheng went to the parking lot of the Monarch Plaza and met up with Lin Ruoxi, who was late. Lin Ruoxi was a little tired as she walked over gracefully. Under the light, her skin was so white that it looked somewhat transparent. Seeing that Yang Cheng and Mo Qinyi were waiting together, she said lightly, get in the car. Qinyi, you drive. After saying that, Lin Ruoxi sat in the back seat of her car. In this way, Yang Cheng had to choose whether to sit in the front passenger seat with Mo Qinyi or sit in the back with Lin Ruoxi. This girl is forcing me to show my determination. Yang Cheng felt helpless as he looked at Mo Qinyi. Mo Qinyi smiled and winked, indicating that she didn't care. Yang Cheng no longer dilly-dallied and sat next to Lin Ruoxi, asking, it's so late. Where are you going if not home? Lin Ruoxi squinted her eyes as if she was taking a nap. I'm going to one of my resorts. Why are you going to one of them? Yang Cheng became more and more puzzled. All of this seemed strange. I'm going to sleep, Lin Ruoxi said, and no longer said anything. Mo Qinyi's driving speed wasn't fast. Although there was less traffic on the highway at night, it still took them 40 minutes to reach the resort Lin Ruoxi mentioned. After entering the resort, Lin Ruoxi's secretary, Wu Yu, had already arrived early and came out with a group of attendants to greet them. General Lin, Minister Mo, the room has been arranged. You can go and rest at any time. Wu Yu's face was as cold as ever. She was like another Lin Ruoxi. Arrange a dinner for Yang Cheng and give him a room, Lin Ruoxi said. Wu Yu looked at Yang Cheng with some surprise. She didn't seem to understand why Yang Cheng was here, but she still nodded. Okay. Yang Cheng felt even more inconceivable. One must know that Wu Yu was helping Lin Ruoshi deal with official matters. She didn't need to do everything herself. Since Wu Yu had to come to the resort early, of course, it was not as simple as arranging a room. However, although Lin Ruoshi was silent, she didn't forget that her husband hadn't eaten yet. It was also in her heart, which made Yang Cheng more satisfied. After sleeping in the clean and tidy room of the resort for a night, Yang Cheng walked around the resort early in the morning. The entire resort was not a small distance from the downtown area of Zhonghai. There was a small town not far away. There was a small lake between the resort, and it was surrounded by low hills on 3 sides. The scenery was quiet. What made Yang Cheng feel wonderful was that there were very few vehicles in the resort and there were not many rooms. It was not so much a resort as a private entertainment venue. The real foreign customers were pitiful. When Yang Cheng planned to go back to his room, a waiter suddenly stopped him from behind. "Mr. Yang, General Lin invites you to breakfast." Yang Cheng didn't expect Lin Ruoshi and Mo Chinny to get up so early. When he came to the buffet restaurant, the 2 women were already there eating salad and drinking freshly squeezed juice, talking about something. When they saw Yang Cheng coming over, the 2 women simply nodded. Yang Cheng took a plate of rice noodles, pulled a chair over, and sat between the 2 of them. He asked with a smile, "You guys aren't really here for a vacation, are you? As the person in charge of this important cooperation project, you can be considered a meritorious person. I'll let you watch a show," said Lin Ruoshi. "What show?" "You know the main content of the contract this time, right?" Yang Cheng nodded. Yulei and Changlin will each contribute 5 billion, while Muyun will invest 2 billion in the technology of Muyun's research center. The 3 parties will use the same account to develop new materials. The fixed funds can't be used for any other purpose. It can only be used for the development of new materials. After the products are launched, Yulei will be responsible for the sales and will take 65% of the profits. Changlin and Muyun will take 25% and 20% respectively. Lin Ruoshi glanced at him with a faint smile. 65% of the profits is obtained through a private contract with Muyun. Although I'm very curious about how you managed to achieve such results, you've done very well. Is this a compliment from a wife to her husband, or a boss to his employee? Yang Cheng asked with a smile. Is there a difference? Lin Ruoshi frowned. She felt that Yang Cheng was going to be glib again. Of course there's a difference. A wife has to kiss her husband when he praises her, and a boss has to give bonuses to his employees, Yang Cheng said seriously. Lin Ruoshi blushed. Mo Chinny was still sitting across from her. This fellow was starting to flirt again. She cleared her throat and said, "Hurry up and eat. Su Jihong will probably be here soon." "Hey, why did you suddenly change the topic again? Wait, did you say Su Jihong?" Yang Cheng was getting more and more confused. Why does it have anything to do with Su Jihong? Before Yang Cheng could ask any more questions, hearty laughter came from the side of the restaurant. "Haha, Mr. Yang, of course I can't miss out on such an interesting show." Su Jihong was wearing a white suit and a red tie. He looked like a handsome Prince Charming. Behind him was Furball, whose hair was like a bird's nest and looked like he was still in a daze. They walked toward the 3 of them. Chapter 186. Su Jihong's arrival made Yang Cheng completely confused as to what Lin Ruoshi was up to, and Mo Chinny also had an "I don't know anything" expression on her face, which made Yang Cheng a little depressed. Last night, Lin Ruoshi had just signed a contract for the 3 companies to join forces to deal with the Su family's Donghua technology. At this moment, Su Jihong was almost certain to be their enemy. But why did this enemy make an appointment to have breakfast here? "Are you confused, Mr. Yang?" Su Jihong smiled warmly. However, just like before, Yang Cheng didn't like his expression. He rolled his eyes and said, "I am confused, but I don't need you to tell me the answer." Su Jihong smiled and didn't say much. Lin Ruoshi and Mo Chinny looked at each other. When they saw the displeasure on Yang Cheng's face, they both smiled. At this moment, her assistant, Wu Yu, ran up to Lin Ruoshi with a handheld computer in her hands. She reported to Lin Ruoshi, "Boss Lin, 5 minutes ago, After Changlin Media confirmed that we've already transferred $5 billion into the account, they also transferred $5 billion into the account. Together with the $2 billion from Muyun Group last night, the construction of the UBS escrow account has been completed. Has Changlin Media's financial situation been confirmed? Lin Ruoshi asked. Wu Yu opened a file on a handheld computer and looked at various complex graphs. She said, according to the analysis of the Athena team, after both parties have transferred 5 billion Huaxia dollars, Changlin Media will be extremely short of funds in the short term. Within 3 months, there will be a huge gap in the capital chain, unless Yanjing City's Zheng family provides help. What is the Athena team? Yang Cheng asked Lin Ruoshi. Lin Ruoshi didn't answer, but Emo Chinny explained kindly. After our General Lin took office, he personally selected various economic actuaries and traders from all over the world from all branches and universities. They're mainly responsible for analyzing the specific situation of competitive competitors. Su Jihong also excitedly added, although Ruoshi's small team doesn't have more than 10 people, I'm also very envious, haha. Lin Ruoshi thought for a moment and said, it's impossible for Yin Jing to help it. The Zheng family doesn't know about this property, and it involves politics. The Zheng family wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Wu Yu, execute the next step of the plan. Yes, General Lin. Wu Yu bowed and left the restaurant first. Yang Cheng couldn't help but ask, who can explain it to me? Lin Ruoshi took a sip of orange juice and said, before this cooperation, I had spent 3 months selling dozens of basic production plants and some shares of other companies to raise 8 billion yuan. 5 billion yuan was put into the Swiss bank account, and the remaining 3 billion was used to suppress the listing of Changlin Media shares in Hong Kong. Suppress Changlin? Yang Cheng thought he heard wrong. Didn't they just say they were going to cooperate? You didn't hear wrong. Mo Chinny explained again. Yulei has already asked all of our newspapers and magazines to contact our peers. This morning, we will start spreading negative news about Changlin. In this way, Changlin Media's shares will be gradually sold by the shareholders. They will sell off their shares, and we will buy them. When we receive a sufficient amount of shares, we will sell them all at a low price again. After the shareholders panic, the scattered shares will also be sold. All we need to do is to keep repeating this operation. Without sufficient cash support, Changlin's shares will be at our mercy. In less than a day, Changlin Media will collapse. Regardless of how good this plan was, Yang Cheng still felt it was too simple. Changlin is also a large company with tens of billions of assets. Can this trick kill them? It was a wrong decision for Changlin to enter Zhonghai this time. Although such a change will bring them long-term benefits, in the short term, there will be a lot of basic work that will require a huge amount of funds. However, Zhang Xinlin wanted to use this cooperation between the 3 companies to stabilize his position. Unfortunately, he thought too simply of the business world, Mo Chinny said. Su Jihong clapped his hands in agreement and laughed. The business world is like a battlefield. When weapons meet, there's no need to care about relationships. Yang Cheng looked at the emotionless Lin Ruoshi, then looked at the smiling Su Jihong and asked, CEO Su, why are you here? Su Jihong laughed and said, why don't we move to the computer room and watch the stock market war, then tell Mr. Yang about it? Zhang Xinlin, who came to the office early in the morning, didn't drink coffee. Instead, he made a cup of tea. What he needed wasn't an abundance of energy, but a calm mind. That was because Zhang Xinlin felt that his emotions weren't too stable. Half an hour ago, the Ministry of Finance confirmed that there was already 7 billion in the UBS bank account. Then, Zhang Xinlin gave the order to invest all of the 5 billion that was raised. This way, the cooperation this time was almost set in stone, and no one could go back on their word. After all, 12 billion for the cooperation to research and develop new materials wasn't a joke. However, because everything seemed to be going too smoothly, Zhang Xinlin started to feel uneasy. He wasn't an idiot, nor was he a brute. He knew clearly what he was doing. He guessed that the one-time investment was too big, and he wasn't used to it yet. Zhang Xinlin sat back on his big CEO leather chair and started to look at a series of contract documents on the computer. He was full of confidence for the future. His family had given a large piece of Changlin Media, to him to manage, and he resolutely chose to move to Zhonghai to develop. Although it took a lot of manpower and financial resources to stand firm, the future prospects couldn't be ignored. Changlin Media was different from other fashion companies. Even the most powerful company in Zhonghai, Yulei International, didn't have the help of political connections like Changlin Media. This was an innate advantage. Zhang Xinlin was sure that as long as this cooperation was completed and profits were generated, Changlin Media's future development would definitely surpass Yulei International. Although Lin Ruoxi was an outstanding manager, in Zhang Xinlin's eyes, she was more of a beautiful woman, a woman that should be captured by him in the end. He almost succeeded in university. Although she was with someone else now, Zhang Xinlin believed that he would be able to snatch her back with his own means. Moreover, he had already discovered the loophole of that man. Therefore, Zhang Xinlin wasn't in a hurry. What he needed now was to guard every step well and be down to earth. He was Lin Ruoxi Sr., and in the future, he would also be Lin Ruoxi Sr. in the business world. At this moment, there was a hurried knock on the door. "Come in." Lu Tao's chubby body ran in and said anxiously, "CEO, I just received news that at least 20 media outlets, including Huaxia Weekly, Zhonghai Daily, Jiangnan News, have all reported negative news about our Changlin Entertainment and Changlin Records. They are all scandals about the unspoken rules and inside information." Zhang Xinlin was instantly shocked, but he wasn't too agitated. He knocked on the table and asked, "Have you found out the reason?" "Those media outlets suddenly cut off their contact with us. However, we can clear our name through the press conference. After all, they don't have sufficient evidence, but what? Our shares have fallen to the lowest point of this month, and we are being purchased by a few unfamiliar companies. There are also some individual buyers who have bought a large amount of our shares. I feel that something is wrong with this situation," Lu Tao said timidly in a low voice. "Something is wrong. Of course something is wrong." Zhang Xinlin's scalp went numb. He gradually realized that something was wrong and shouted, "Start gathering funds from all sides immediately. Gather all the money that can be gathered, now." "Yes." Lu Tao ran out of the office in terror. He was scared out of his wits by Zhang Xinlin. Zhang Xinlin couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and paced back and forth. He knew that this was definitely a premeditated battle of funds. There were only 3 outcomes in such a battle. Either you die, I die, or both sides suffer heavy losses. The one who wanted to launch such an attack was definitely an opponent who intended to fight to the death with you. Who was it? Changlin entering Zhonghai was undoubtedly a huge impact on other related companies. There were many companies that wanted to deal with Changlin. However, only Yulei was able to do so. Was it Lin Ruoxi, that cold and aloof woman who was like an otherworldly fairy? A junior who was learning from my butt? Zhang Xinlin didn't dare to believe that this woman who seemed to be aloof from worldly affairs would wield a butcher's knife against him. After letting his imagination run wild for a while, Zhang Xinlin wanted to call Lin Ruoxi and ask her if she knew anything and if she was the mastermind behind all of this. However, he put down the phone after picking it up. He knew that as long as he asked this question, no matter what the answer was, he would never be able to get that woman in this lifetime. He couldn't afford to gamble. "CEO." Lu Tao's voice broke the silence in the office. Fatty ran into the office with sweat all over his head and said with a long face, "Something big happened, CEO." Chapter 187. No matter how big the matter is, don't lose your composure, Zhang Xinlin said in a deep voice. Lu Tao breathed heavily and barely stabilized himself. He said, "I just received a report that our stocks were sold at a low price in Hong Kong just now. As a result, the individual investors also started to sell their stocks. Now, they're taking in more than twice as much as before. If this goes on..." Zhang Xinlin's gaze was as fierce as a blade. He picked up the phone on the table and directly called the person in charge of the Ministry of Finance, Lu Mushing. Lu Mushing had been with Changlin Media for half of his life and was also an internationally renowned financial trader. He had always been in charge of Changlin Media's stocks. "Uncle Lu, how's the situation?" Zhang Xinlin asked as calmly as possible. A deep voice could be heard. "Xinlin, we're sure of funds. I've already sent people to buy up the stocks that were sold, but we don't have enough funds to buy them all. If this continues, we will collapse. Collapse? This piece of news made Zhang Xinlin clench his hand into a fist, wishing he could smash the phone. All right, I will try my best to raise the money, Zhang Xinlin said. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Xinlin immediately ordered Lu Tao, immediately ask all the branch companies to transfer the money to the headquarters. We'll talk about the funds after this crisis. Yes, President. Lu Tao also knew that it was a desperate fight. He dared not delay and immediately ran out. Zhang Xinlin took a deep breath and dialed a number. Brother Zhang, it's rare for you to call me. I miss you so much. The man on the other end of the phone laughed heartily. Zhang Xinlin felt more at ease when he heard the affectionate call. Chief Wang, I'm really annoyed right now. Why are so many media outlets reporting negative news about our Changlin media this morning? The State Administration of Radio, Film, and Television is your world. You have to help me on that line. You can't do anything about the news that was released, but you should at least give me a way to remedy it. What? Did those newspapers have nothing better to do after eating? Don't worry, little brother. I'll take a look right now. Thank you very much. Zhang Xinlin put down the phone and heaved a sigh of relief. Yes, I still have my connections and the political status of the Zhang family. However, this was naturally not enough. The most important thing was the lack of funds. Zhang Xinlin picked up the phone again. After dialing the number, a woman's voice came from the other end. Young Master Zhang, how come you have the time to call me? The female voice on the other end of the phone was somewhat mature and charming. Zhang Xinlin secretly scolded a coquettish fox in his heart and flattered. Bank Manager Zhuang is such a great beauty. How would she have the time to pay attention to small characters like us? Young Master Zhang's mouth is still as sweet as ever. Speak. What matter has brought you here? It's like this. Our Changlin media suddenly has an urgent matter. I hope that President Zhuang can be kind enough to allow me to take a loan. Zhang Xinlin was anxious and thus spoke frankly. President Zhuang was silent for a while, then said, Young masters, it's not that I'm stingy, but you should know about the bank robbery last time. Our bank is in a mess now, and there are many things that are inconvenient. If there's no collateral, it can't exceed 150 million yuan. What do you think? Then I'll mortgage it. My subsidiaries and real estate companies can do it. If it's a mortgage, the money can't be transferred immediately, said President Zhuang. Damn it, playing with me? Zhang Xinlin gritted his teeth and sighed. All right then, 150 million it is. Every cent counted. After Zhang Xinlin consecutively hit more than 10 banking institutions, he managed to raise more than 1 billion yuan. However, when he opened up the stock market on the internet, he realized that it was still not enough. If he wanted to stop this tragic situation, he still needed money. After thinking for a long time, Zhang Xinlin dialed a number that he definitely wouldn't dare to call unless he had no other choice. After a while, the call was connected. A slightly aged voice came from the other end of the phone. Xinlin, I already know about your matter. Grandpa, I was careless about this matter, but I've already raised enough money. I only need 1 billion more, and I believe I can turn defeat into victory. We are the bankers, and we have a natural advantage. We can definitely do it, Zhang Xinlin said earnestly. Grandpa Zhang was silent for a while on the other end of the phone, then asked, How much money did you say you needed just now? Zhang Xinlin's face lit up. He knew that although the position of the head of the Zhang family had been handed over to his father's generation, the real controller was undoubtedly this reclusive grandpa. As long as he nodded, then the current funds of the Zhang family's other businesses wouldn't be a problem. 1 billion. I only need 1 billion. After this crisis, I can definitely earn it back, Zhang Xinlin said while swallowing hard. Xinlin, give up. Not to mention 1 billion. I can't even give you 500 million right now. Moreover, as far as I know, even if I give you 2 billion, you might not be able to get through this crisis. Grandpa Zhang sighed. Zhang Xinlin's face turned green, and he asked unwillingly, Why? Grandpa, you can definitely find out who's behind this. It's Yulei, right? That's right. According to the current information, it's Lin Ruoshi from Yulei. Then, Grandpa, you should be very clear that Yulei invested 5 billion this time. No matter how rich they are, They can't possibly get another 5 billion in such a short time. Zhang Xinlin was annoyed when he confirmed that it was Lin Ruoshi's doing. Grandpa Zhang asked, "What if we add Donghua Technology and Su Jihong from the Su family?" It was like an explosion, and Zhang Xinlin's hand that was holding the phone trembled. Su Jihong. The Su Jihong that the three families had been trying to deal with was actually Lin Ruoshi's alliance. All of this finally became clear in Zhang Xinlin's mind, but at the same time, he was terrified. That woman, what kind of horrible things did she do? Xinlin, you're still young, and you believe too much in your own ability and charisma. In the business world, there's no difference between men and women, and there's no depth of affection. There's only deception and intrigue. As long as there's profit to be gained, a successful businessman won't give up even the slightest chance. Grandpa Zhang said, "You've lost completely this time because Lin Ruoshi didn't use any illegal means to harm society. She won beautifully. Even I have to admire this girl's intelligence and means." "Grandpa, I'm not reconciled. I worked so hard to help Changlin gain a foothold in Zhonghai, and I just got such a big business deal. How can I just give it back like this?" Zhang Xinlin couldn't contain his excitement. Grandpa Zhang said in a deep voice, "A loss is a loss, and there will always be opportunities. If you want to defeat your enemy, don't ever be afraid of failure." Zhang Xinlin's hand that was holding the phone stiffened. After a while, he let out a long sigh. "Yes, Grandpa, I understand." At the same time, in a small holiday village under Lin Ruoshi's private name, the atmosphere in a hidden computer workshop was completely different. Dozens of computers with different screen sizes were operating at high speed. 9 casually dressed staff members were sitting in the middle of the room and adjusting the computers at lightning speed. On the big screen, Changlin Media's stock price fluctuated up and down, but as the curve continued, it seemed lifeless. Lin Ruoshi stood on a high platform at the back with her arms crossed in front of her chest. She looked at the flashing big screen with a cold expression and didn't say a word. Behind her, Yang Chun, Imo Chinni, and Su Jihong sat at a round table. They too watched as the entire building of Changlin Media moved towards the fate of collapsing at lightning speed. Wu Yu walked up to the stage and pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose. She reported to Lin Ruoshi, "General Lin, Changlin Media can no longer buy any of their stocks. In a few hours, all the shareholders will stop buying their stocks and will continue to dump them. Changlin Media will collapse." "Got it. Let the Athena team continue to pay attention to the situation here. When it is over, bring them to the celebration party," Lin Ruoshi said in a clear voice. She had defeated an opponent who was almost evenly matched in strength, but this woman still did not have much excitement. A young female member of the Athena team turned her head. She was a European girl with chestnut-colored curly hair. She was biting a lollipop in her mouth and spoke in Huaxia language with a British accent. She smiled and said, "Boss, we have been busy for so long this time. Give us a holiday." Lin Ruoshi smiled faintly, which was rare for her. "Sure, I'll give you a month's holiday. Each of you will get a travel bonus of 200,000 yuan. "Oh yes, praise my goddess." A few male foreign members applauded happily. Yang Cheng, who was watching the scene from behind, frowned and asked Imo Chinni, "Is this how she pays them?" "It's only 200,000 yuan. The members of the Athena team each have an annual salary and bonus of at least 3 million yuan. Do you think talents are cheap?" Imo Chinni rolled her eyes at him. Yang Cheng grumbled in dissatisfaction. "Why do I only get 100,000 yuan a year? This is not fair. I'm also a talent." Su Jihong laughed and said, "Mr. Yang, it's not a good thing to ask your wife for salary. You're just jealous." Yang Cheng ignored him and said to Lin Ruoshi, "Honey, it doesn't seem right to ask for money. We can talk about living off a woman in private when we get back. Why don't you tell me what's going on?" Yang Cheng only realized that Changlin Media was about to collapse. But as one of the people in charge of the three-party cooperation, he had no idea why all this happened. Chapter 188. Lin Ruoshi did not answer Yang Cheng directly. Instead, she looked at the female Vacheron Constantine watch on her fair wrist and said, The victory party is about to begin. Although most of them are internal staff, it's better not to be late. Let's go first. You're not going to explain? Yang Chung asked gloomily. I'll explain as we go. The four of them left the small resort. Su Jihong was driven by Furball, and just like last night, Chini drove while Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi sat in the back. Lin Ruoshi roughly explained everything to Yang Chung, and only then did Yang Chung really understand. Changlin Media's entry into Lei International was a business disadvantage. Moreover, with the Zheng family's background, if Changlin Media was allowed to continue developing, it would undoubtedly be like raising a tiger and inviting a calamity. Therefore, when Zhang Xinlin visited Lin Ruoshi as a senior for the first time and talked about this important project with Lei and Muyun, Lin Ruoshi consciously thought of using this opportunity to get Changlin Media out of Zhonghai. Since then, when the preliminary plan was made, Lin Ruoshi began to raise funds and take loans, far exceeding the requirements of the contract. Using the stock market to defeat Changlin was the plan from the beginning, but everything had to be kept secret. Therefore, not only Yang Chung, but even Chini was only informed 2 days ago. The final result of this plan would not affect the project with Changlin and Muyun, which meant that even if Changlin Media was defeated, Changlin would still be able to obtain a large amount of funds in terms of the profits from the new material. However, it was almost impossible to surpass Lei International. In particular, Yang Chung had unexpectedly helped Lin Ruoshi fight for 65% of the profits, which was like adding wings to a tiger. This allowed Lin Ruoshi to execute the plan to assassinate Changlin without hesitation. As for Su Jihong, he had conspired with Lin Ruoshi from the very beginning to privately sign a contract with him to jointly fund against Changlin Media. The Su family would not suffer any losses. In fact, in the future competition in the new material market, the Su family would have one less political rival. Of course, Su Jihong was happy to help. Of course, Lei also paid a certain price, which was to allow Donghua Technology to use Lei's strong sales network after their new products hit the market in the future. This was a market factor that the Su family lacked, and for Su Jihong, it was extremely useful. Yang Chung looked at Lin Ruoshi with a strange expression. You sold out your senior just like that? I'm just doing what I have to do. Lin Ruoshi frowned. She didn't like the word sell. I thought you valued him a lot, but it turns out that he was deceived by you like a pitiful worm. Yang Chung was still relatively happy in his heart. Lin Ruoshi looked out the window and said, He is my senior, but he has nothing to do with this. But you didn't have to lie to me like this. Why did I only find out at the end? Yang Chung was a little dissatisfied. Chini, who was driving in the front, saw Yang Cheng's distressed expression in the rearview mirror. She giggled and said, If I didn't hide it from you, how could I hide it from others? Lin Ruoshi nodded in agreement. Yang Chun smacked his lips. He realized that he had to reevaluate this wife of his. Although she didn't seem to have much reaction to anything, it was precisely because of this that nobody knew how many twists and turns were going through in her mind. This kind of lying technique had reached the acme of perfection. Because she didn't need to cover up her lies, it didn't matter if she lied or not. Yang Cheng finally understood what Chini told him yesterday. Lin Ruoshi's innate advantage was. However, after thinking about it carefully, Yang Cheng realized that something was amiss. He frowned and asked, Since you had negotiated with Su Jihong before, why did he still send assassins to kill us when we were in Hong Kong? Lin Ruoshi turned around and pursed her lips apologetically. I'm sorry about that. Su Jihong only mentioned to obstruct Zheng Xinlin to a certain extent to make Zheng Xinlin believe in our alliance. I didn't know that he would really kill us. Chini, who was driving, was afraid that Yang Chung would be angry, so she explained, Yang Chung, Ruoshi didn't know about it. Su Jihong wanted to take the opportunity to kill you because to him, no matter who died, it would only be beneficial to him. But aren't we all fine? Just find a chance to deal with Su Jihong next time. Don't blame Ruoshi. Yang Chung was depressed in his heart. Chini, this silly woman, almost died, but she still spoke up for Lin Ruoshi in front of him. He chuckled. I'm fine with it. My life is tough. But if Su Jihong sent an assassin to shoot at you, would you still be able to drive here? Mo Qianni was speechless. She also knew that she was just lucky at that time. Lin Ruoshi lowered her head in silence. This was a miscalculation on her part. She only considered the overall situation and didn't consider the safety of Yang Cheng and Mo Qianni. Next time when you want to defeat your opponent, don't forget about the person. The person is more important than the success of the business, not to mention the person who cares about you. Yang Cheng spoke out all the dissatisfaction in his heart. Qianni doesn't blame you. She's just kind-hearted. If you want to play this kind of risky game in the future, you better think it through. Is Su Jihong a simple-minded person who will be used by you? Hearing Yang Cheng speaking up for her, Mo Qianni felt sweet in her heart. But when she saw Lin Ruoshi's lowered head in the rearview mirror, she also felt bad. All right, Yang Cheng. Ruoshi isn't a deity, and she can't predict everything. Yang Cheng twitched his lips and shook his head. Lin Ruoshi raised her head and looked at Yang Cheng. Don't worry. Su Jihong will pay the price. Are you serious? You just defeated Changlin, and you're going to mess with Su Jihong? Yang Cheng nearly jumped out of his seat. This woman was too terrifying. Lin Ruoshi blinked her eyes. You'll know in a while. As they spoke, the car had already stopped outside a Baroque white building. It was surrounded by dense greenery, and there were many well-dressed bodyguards standing there. The three of them got out of the car. Su Jihong was already waiting on the red carpet in front of the front door. This is a small manor under my name. There aren't many people at today's celebration, so this is the most suitable place. Please. Su Jihong made an inviting gesture. When they entered the hall of the venue, there were already many people holding champagne cocktails and chatting happily. Almost all of them were people from Yulei International and Donghua Technology who were invited here at the last minute. Everyone's face was glowing with joy. Whether it was obtaining a lucrative contract or defeating Changlin Media, for both parties, it was worth celebrating. Seeing Lin Ruoshi and Su Jihong enter the door, everyone burst into applause without exception. Obviously, they had already learned about the situation of the Hong Kong stock market. Before the market closed, Changlin would definitely collapse. Lin Ruoshi and Mo Qianni were talking with several other senior executives of Donghua Technology, so Yang Cheng had nothing to do. Taking a glass of red wine, Yang Cheng saw someone waving at him in the corner. Upon closer inspection, it was Zhang Kai. Beside her stood Lu Mingyu and Zhao Hongyan, who were smiling sweetly. After having that relationship with Lu Mingyu didn't change much. The way she looked at Yang Cheng was still so gentle. A mature woman could control her emotions very well. Congratulations, you could be considered a hero. Zhao Hongyan clinked glasses with Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng smiled and said, Don't make fun of me. I just found out the whole story. At most, I could be considered a muddle-headed hero. Lu Mingyu took a sip of the amber-colored wine and said, The CEO's deployment this time is too exciting. We just signed such an exciting contract, and he actually overthrew Changlin Media. Zhang, and Zhao nodded in agreement. It was obvious that their admiration for Lin Ruoshi had reached another peak. After chatting with the three women for a while, Lu Mingyu suddenly frowned and pointed in the direction of the door. Look, isn't that CEO Zhang from Changlin Media? Yang Cheng turned around and looked. It was indeed Zhang Xinlin. He walked into the hall alone with his head held high and chest puffed out. He had a handsome smile on his face. The hall quieted down in an instant. Everyone's gaze was focused on a few important figures. Yang Cheng walked to the door quietly and drank his wine. He wanted to see what Zhang Xinlin was here for. However, looking at him, he seemed to be in a good mood. General Lin, CEO Su, Zhang Xinlin came uninvited. I didn't disturb your good mood, did I? Zhang Xinlin extended his hand to the two of them from afar. Lin Ruoshi shook her head and shook hands with him calmly. Su Jihong also welcomed him with a smile, as if they had been close friends for many years. CEO Zhang is also free to have a drink. Su Jihong asked. Zhang Xinlin smiled bitterly and said, It's fine if I just have a drink. I'm really busy because of this brilliant move of yours. However, out of respect for you two and also out of my style of being able to accept defeat, I still have to come over and congratulate you. From now on, within 10 years, Changlin Media will probably be unable to compete with your two companies. It won't take 10 years, but 8 years, Lin Ruoshi said calmly. Changlin Media will also get a share of the profits, and its development will be faster. Zhang Xinlin waved his hand at her. Ruoshi, I'll still call you this. You've really tricked me. I didn't expect that my junior back then would play such a trick on me. Sorry, I'm a businesswoman, Lin Ruoshi said. This sentence was a bit like a line from a certain movie, but when Lin Ruoshi said it, it was indeed cold. Zhang Xinlin's tone was stuck, and he smiled stiffly. Yeah, it's the nature of a businessman to pursue profits. I'm still not as open-minded as you, but I'll learn from my lesson. After that, Zhang Xinlin looked to the side and found Yang Cheng's figure. He smiled evilly at Yang Cheng. Mr. Yang, I won't forget you either. Our competition isn't over yet. If you don't leave, I'll take a knife and cut the tires of your car, Yang Cheng replied directly. Competition? Competition, my A***s. She's already my wife, and you still want to be the king of the mountain and steal my woman? Zhang Xinlin looked at him meaningfully, sneered, turned around, and walked out of the door confidently. Su Jihong only retracted his gaze when he saw that unruly figure walking out of the door. He said to Lin Ruoshi, he's a decent opponent, but it's a pity that he doesn't have enough time to immerse himself in the business world. Ruoshi, are you sure you want to give him a share of the profits from the new material? You might be raising a tiger and inviting trouble. A tiger isn't scary, as long as there's a beast tamer. Lin Ruoshi said plainly, I'll do things according to the agreement. Su Jihong nodded in understanding. Looks like it won't be long before our two companies have to start a fierce battle in the process of launching new products into the market. Lin Ruoshi shook her head. That won't happen. Our products will definitely be launched first, and will be much faster than you guys. That's hard to say. I know that Miyun has Professor Li Guangxuan, but our Donghua University's Professor Green is also an expert on par with him, Su Jihong said confidently. Lin Ruoshi turned around and asked sarcastically, from next week onwards, Professor Green will be going to Hong Kong to do research together with Professor Li Guangxuan. Who do you think will be faster after leaving your lab? Chapter 189. When Lin Ruoshi revealed such a shocking piece of news, all the onlookers were dumbfounded. Clearly, no one had expected such a sudden situation. Su Jihong's face was as white as a sheet. He forced a smile. Ruoshi, don't tease me. I'm the boss of Green's workshop. Dr. Green will definitely inform me if he wants to stay or leave. He doesn't need to inform you, because you've already signed your name to let Dr. Green leave the laboratory and work at Muyun Research Institute. If you don't believe me, you can call Dr. Green. I think he should have seen your signed dismissal document, Lin Ruoshi said. Impossible. I've never signed anything like that. Su Jihong's voice rose a few octaves. He took the phone from Furball and dialed a number. When the call was connected, the other party spoke in Huaxia with an American accent. Mr. Su, what a surprise. You're calling me at this time. Hearing Dr. Green's mocking tone, Su Jihong felt a chill run down his spine. He forced a smile and asked, Doctor, what are you talking about? Did I do something wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It's my work that didn't satisfy you. I feel very guilty. Since you've decided to let me leave the laboratory, I'll accept the invitation of my classmate, Dr. Li Guangxuan, and go to Miyun to work with him. What? Doctor, when did I say you could leave? Su Jihong was almost roaring. Green was a little surprised. It was a document handed to me by a lady who claimed to be from your company. It clearly states that the laboratory will be taken over by my assistant, Goals, and I must leave by the end of next week. I recognize that it's your signature. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed by this news. After all, I've done my best to help you build this laboratory over the years. Now that things have come to this, since you no longer need me, I choose to leave quietly. I'm very grateful that you're still willing to call me at this time. F***ck it. What the hell is going on? Su Jihong controlled his emotions and said anxiously, Doctor, listen to me. This is a conspiracy. I've never thought of letting you leave the laboratory. I'm sorry, Mr. Su. I don't understand why you're suddenly saying this, but I've already seen your signed document with my own eyes. I've also booked a plane ticket to Hong Kong. My classmate, Dr. Lee, is waiting for me to reunite. I think this is a good ending. Mr. Lee of Muyun Group is very nice to me. He brought all of my family to Hong Kong. I have already decided to work for him. If Mr. Su is still saying these things that make me feel very puzzled, I can only say sorry. In the words of you Hua Xia people, our fate has come to an end. Goodbye, Mr. Su. With that, Green hung up the phone. Su Jihong directly smashed the high-end custom-made mobile phone onto the ground, turning it into a pile of broken parts. Why? I want to know why. Su Jihong's eyes were bloodshot. Even though he was facing the woman he had been trying to pursue, it was difficult for him to suppress his anger. Lin Ruoshi looked at him fearlessly. It's very simple. I gave you the contract to expel Dr. Green, and you signed it freely. That's why it's like this now. You never gave me that kind of document. You forged it, Su Jihong said in a low and hoarse voice. You really didn't? Think carefully. Lin Ruoshi smiled faintly. Su Jihong racked his brain and began to think hard. In a daze, he remembered that day when Lin Ruoshi suddenly visited him privately and talked about joining forces with the Su family to deal with Changlin Media, which had just entered Zhonghai. For a moment, Su Jihong raised his trembling finger and pointed it at Lin Ruoshi. It's that stack of contracts. That day, when Lin Ruoshi proposed to use the alliance with Mu Yun and Changlin to launch a counterattack against Changlin, Su Jihong agreed with her. He was very clear that as the CEO of Yulei, Lin Ruoshi definitely didn't like Changlin Media, which was an established company of the same nature, standing on the same stage. Therefore, it was normal for her to deal with Changlin Media. Moreover, Lin Ruoshi also said that although Zheng Xinlin was her senior, she had to consider the big picture and her employees at a time like this. After hearing those words, Su Jihong naturally didn't have too many doubts. Moreover, he also desperately wanted to suppress Changlin Media and force the Zheng family, a fierce dragon that crossed the river, out of Zhonghai before it could completely establish itself. Therefore, he immediately agreed to Lin Ruoshi's proposal to join forces and kill Changlin Media. However, Lin Ruoshi was worried that Su Jihong would go back on his words and not make a move after the stock market were started. Therefore, she took out a stack of dozens of pages of contracts and asked Su Jihong to sign it to ensure the secret cooperation went smoothly. Under that kind of situation, Su Jihong saw that Lin Ruoshi was being cautious and using such a roundabout strategy. Therefore, he didn't think much about it. He casually flipped through the pages and signed his name. He didn't expect that there was an extra page of content in the stack of contracts. Su Jihong and Zheng Xinlin were the same. Their impression of Lin Ruoshi had always been that she had a cold personality. She was capable, but she was definitely not the kind of woman who was good at scheming, vicious, and daring. Therefore, they didn't pay enough attention to Lin Ruoshi. Zheng Xinlin underestimated Lin Ruoshi's cold and deep side, while Su Jihong underestimated Lin Ruoshi's slyness and natural acting skills. You wouldn't have thought that this woman, who usually spoke with a cold face and almost never participated in any public activities, would be brewing such a vicious scheme that could kill two birds with one stone. What Su Jihong hated the most was that Lin Ruoshi's scheme was, to be more precise, a gamble that put her in an invincible position. Lin Ruoshi was gambling. She was gambling that he wouldn't be overly suspicious of her, so he would pretend to be generous and sign the contract immediately without studying it too much. Moreover, even if he had discovered something wrong beforehand, Lin Ruoshi wouldn't have suffered any loss. At most, she could just cooperate with the other two families according to the original plan and obtain a little less profit. It wouldn't affect the overall situation. But in the end, his own stupidity really allowed Lin Ruoshi to win her gamble. The wine glass in Su Jihong's hand was crushed into glass shards with a bang. Ruoshi, this move of yours is really vicious. Su Jihong didn't fly into a rage. After he thought through everything, he only looked at Lin Ruoshi with a slightly distant gaze and smiled coldly. Lin Ruashi sighed softly. I don't like to do these things either, but I can only tell you the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm a businessman. Well said. You are a businessman, and I'm also a businessman. Victory and defeat are common for businessmen. Su Jihong shook his head and smiled bitterly. You have been dormant for so long. Your coldness has made it difficult for us to remember that you are also a businessman. It was our carelessness that caused us to suffer from your fatal blow. Congratulations. It seems that in the next 10 years, Yulei will be the absolute leader of this new material industry. Thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll be leaving. Lin Ruashi naturally placed the wine glass on the dining table, as if nothing had happened, and leisurely walked out. The executives of Yulei saw that the CEO had left, and the people from Donghua Technology began to look at them angrily, so they all followed her out of the banquet hall. Yang Chung left in the same car, with Lin Ruashi and Mo Chinni, just like how he came. Sitting in the car, the three of them didn't speak. Mo Chinni drove. Lin Ruashi looked at the passing scenery outside the window, and Yang Chung was immersed in the sudden changes that happened today. In this day, the impact that Lin Ruashi brought to him was huge. It was almost the peak of her previous image. Yang Chung saw this woman's decisiveness, coldness, and darkness. Her indifferent appearance, which didn't need to be pretended, could be the most advantageous acting, and she could fool Zhang Xinlin, Su Jihong, and other outstanding talents of the same generation. No one would have thought that from the beginning. Yulei was only a participant in this new material industry. To now, Yulei had become the biggest beneficiary. While obtaining 65% of the profits, it knocked Changlin Media to the bottom and caused Donghua Technology's technology research and development to suffer a serious setback. It was hard for Yang Chung to associate her with the cute woman who held glutinous rice balls in her hands and secretly ate them on the bed. Why aren't you talking? Lin Ruashi suddenly turned around and asked Yang Chung with a cold gaze. Yang Chung touched his forehead. I don't know what to say. Do you think that I'm a vicious woman? Lin Ruashi asked. I don't know. Maybe I suddenly felt that something was different and I couldn't get used to it. Yang Chung said truthfully, but I definitely don't think you are vicious. This is just some deception in the business world. You capitalists fight capitalists. There is nothing vicious about it. Lin Ruashi said faintly. Even if you think I am vicious, I will still do it. My grandmother told me that if she didn't become an outstanding entrepreneur, she wouldn't have the chance to survive. In this world, if you want to survive, you must defeat the enemies at your level. Even if you can't defeat them, you can't give them the chance to swallow you up. I just want to protect myself and everything that my grandmother left me. If you were in my position, I think you would do the same. Yang Chung remembered what happened in the hospital. Lin Ruashi's grandfather, Lin Jigua. According to the conversation at that time, Lin Jigua seemed to have let Lin Ruashi's grandmother down. Although he didn't know what exactly happened, it was obvious that Lin Ruashi's grandmother was a pitiful woman. Looking at the woman in front of him, full of sorrow, Yang Chung felt his heart was extremely irritated. There were too many unknown things that made him suddenly feel indecisive. Chinny, go to the front and stop the car. I want to go out and take a walk. At this time, the car had already entered the city of Zhonghai. Yang Chung felt that it would be better to take a walk. Mo Chinny didn't ask much. She responded and found an empty space to stop the car. Yang Chung got out of the car, took out a cigarette, and lit it for himself. He waved at the two women in the car. I'm going to take a walk. Don't wait for me for dinner tonight. Seeing Yang Chung walk away, Lin Ruashi asked, Chinny, does he hate me? I think he's just not used to you like this. He still cares about you. That's why he's like this. Mo Chinny felt a little sour in her heart. She also liked that man, but she had to comfort his woman. Lin Ruashi suddenly reached out and stroked Mo Chinny's hair. I'm so happy that you chose to comfort me at a time like this. We're good sisters. Of course I have to stand on your side. Mo Chinny smiled relaxedly. In a few days, bring Yang Chung back to your hometown and bring Annie to Zhonghai. Mo Chinny's watery eyes widened. Ruashi, how did you know that I'm going to? I'm going to bring Yang Chung to my hometown. Lin Ruashi laughed self-deprecatingly. Don't worry. Although I'll plot against others, I'll never do that kind of thing to you. Annie told me that you're going to bring your boyfriend to see her. My mom. Mo Chinny covered her mouth in shock. She's very concerned about what kind of person your boyfriend is. And the only person she can contact who knows you is me. Lin Ruashi said. Mo Chinny's heart immediately jumped. Wasn't this a confession? Her face instantly burned. Then, Ruashi, what did you say about Yang Chung? Mo Chinny's heart was beating very fast. Although she felt very embarrassed, she had to ask. Chapter 190. Mo Chinny's question made Lin Ruashi speechless for a moment. After a long silence, Lin Ruashi shook her head. I don't know. You don't know? Yes, Annie asked me that day. I thought about it for a long time, but I really don't know what to say about him. So, I asked Annie to find out for herself. Lin Ruashi said helplessly. A lot of thoughts flashed through Mo Chinny's eyes. That's true. Actually, I don't know how to describe it. Relationships are always like this. You don't know what's good about a person, but he has a lot of shortcomings. However, you just can't let yourself really hate those shortcomings. You always feel that if that person suddenly changes, you won't be used to it. But if he doesn't become better, it makes you feel anxious. It's so annoying. Lin Ruashi looked at Mo Chinny with a faint smile. Chinny, you seem to have a deep understanding of it. Mo Chinny suddenly realized who she was talking to about Yang Chung. Her face was so red that juice was about to drip out. I'm just talking nonsense. Ruashi, you're so annoying. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not the kind of person who forgets about friendship when I see a girl. Besides, that guy isn't that good looking. I'll leave him for you. You'll have a headache. After that, Mo Chinny immediately turned around and continued to pretend to be serious. She started the car and started to return to the company. Lin Ruashi turned to look at the direction where Yang Chung left and faintly sighed. Yang Chung got out of the car and strolled alone on the pedestrian street with a cigarette in his mouth. He was not in a good mood at the moment. He felt a little stifled in his heart. He looked around. Unknowingly, he had already arrived at the famous commercial district of Zhonghai. There were dazzling large billboards and deafening music. All of these were to attract customers to the stores and department stores. There was a green belt in the middle of the road, and there were many red-painted wooden tables and chairs beside the flower beds for passers-by to rest. Yang Chung wasn't interested in buying anything. He planned to sit down and sort out his thoughts. However, just as he was about to sit down on a red stool, a delicate figure rushed over. Uncle. She was wearing a yellow camisole, a white shirt, and a pair of light-colored ripped jeans. She was like a fragrant little doll as she threw herself into Yang Cheng's arms. Her two arms hooked onto Yang Cheng's neck, and her body was almost hanging onto Yang Cheng's body. Looking at the pretty face that he hadn't seen for a while, Yang Cheng couldn't help but blink, thinking that he was seeing things. Tang Tang? Tang Tang nodded her head with both joy and annoyance. She loosened her arms and punched Yang Cheng's chest a few times. You're so annoying. Uncle, you're so cruel. You haven't come to play with me for so long. If I didn't run into you today, would you never contact me in this lifetime? What are you talking about? Aren't you studying hard in your third year? I saw that you were busy, so I didn't want to disturb your studies. It's all for your own good. Yang Chung said. Excuses. Tang Tang stuck out her tongue. These are all excuses. Are you sick of me? Do you dislike me? Do you not treat me as a friend anymore? Yang Chung smiled bitterly. This girl was starting to cause trouble again. Don't think so much. I'm just busy. I know that your mom is strict with you, so I didn't contact you. Besides, I'm not that great of a person. Why would I dislike you? But you can't not see me for so long. Tang Tang was like a hurt little flower. Yang Chun casually threw the cigarette butt away and counted with his fingers. It hasn't been that long. It hasn't even been a month. Not that long a month. Do you know how many months a year and how many months a lifetime? Even if I live to be 100 years old, it's only 1,200 months. What you're doing is seriously hurting my fragile and young heart. Tang Tang said angrily. Stop. Yang Chen gestured for her to stop. At the end of the day, I owe you in my previous life, and I'm destined to never be able to repay you in this life. Little madam, just tell me, what exactly do you want this time? Yang Chun didn't have to guess to know what this brat was trying to get him to do with her again. Tang Tang giggled. Uncle, you understand me. Actually, it's nothing. I didn't bring my wallet today. Uncle, treat me to a meal. I'm so hungry. Yang Chun couldn't help but smile as he patted Tong Tong's head. You're wasting so much time talking to me. You just want a meal. Why didn't you say so earlier? Actually, I really miss Uncle. But as a girl, I have to be more reserved. Who knew that you're such a heartless man? You didn't even take the initiative to contact me. Tang Tang said bitterly. All right. Whose heart did I betray? Let's go eat. What do you want to eat? Just tell me. I haven't had lunch yet. Yang Chung didn't want to listen to her anymore. Tang Tang touched her chin and thought for a moment. Let's go eat McDonald's. Can we change it? It's the same bun with meat. I think the domestic Rujiamo is better. Yang Chung said. Tang Tang looked at Yang Chung as if he was an alien. If you can find a place to eat Rujiamo nearby, then I'll go with you. Then let's go eat McDonald's. The two found McDonald's nearby. Yang Chung ordered 4 drumsticks while Tang Tang only ordered a chicken roll and a drink. The two sat by the window in the corner and ate leisurely. Yang Chung watched as Tang Tang finished the chicken roll in 2 to 3 bites. He asked curiously, Why don't you eat more? You look very hungry. I have to maintain my figure even if I'm hungry. Otherwise, no one will want me in the future. Tang Tang said seriously, You're still so young and your mind is filled with these things. Yang Chung shook his head helplessly. Tang Tang stood up and proudly puffed out her well-developed chest. She didn't care about the gazes of the surrounding customers and said, So what if I'm young? I have everything I need. Some of the older ones don't even have as much as me. To be honest, this girl probably grew up in a wealthy family, so she ate better than other children. She was indeed curvy and exquisite, and had a different kind of youthful flavor of a young girl. But Yang Chung couldn't stand this girl's boldness. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and asked her to sit down. Don't be so crazy. Tell me what you did. Why didn't you bring your wallet? Tang Tang was like a deflated ball when he asked about this. She laid on the table softly and said, What else could it be? I quarreled with my sister. My wallet was confiscated and I wasn't allowed to leave the house. But I still escaped. Yang Chung thought about it carefully and remembered that Tong Tong's sister was her mother. Why did you quarrel with your mother? Besides, you came out even though you didn't have money. If you didn't meet me, would you have become a beggar? Yang Chung said with a frown. Tang Tang pouted. What are you afraid of? I'm a natural beauty. Why would I be afraid that I don't have money to support me? What nonsense are you talking about? Yang Chung couldn't help but slap the table. How old are you to say this kind of nonsense? Do you know what it means to be a sugar daddy? If other people heard what you said, do you know what kind of person they would think of you? Do you think you can say this kind of thing so casually? Tang Tang lowered her head in grievance. Uncle, don't be angry. I just said it casually. I don't feel good about it. Yang Chung saw that the girl was about to cry. He didn't say anything more. Tell me, why did you quarrel with your mother? I don't want to say it. Tang Tang pinched the corner of her clothes and stammered. Well, after talking for so long, this girl doesn't want to say it again. Yang Chung was distressed as he finished the last hamburger. Just as he was about to smoke, he suddenly realized that he couldn't smoke in this place. While lamenting the lack of fast food, he didn't know how to continue the conversation. This girl seems to have run away from home or quarreled with her family. Based on his previous experience, Tang Tang wasn't very safe. It was very likely that she would be discovered by people who wanted to harm her. He couldn't just casually leave her alone. Uncle, Tang Tang saw that Yang Chung didn't say anything. She asked in a low voice, Did I bring you trouble? Actually, if you're busy, you can leave first. I can stay at my classmate's house. Can your classmate deal with those people who want to kidnap you? Yang Chung asked with a smile. When Tang Tang heard the word kidnap, her face turned pale. Nothing happened recently. The limelight should be over. That's because you've been very obedient recently and didn't come out to play. It doesn't mean that it's over. Yang Chung sighed. I think I should send you back. What can a mother and daughter talk about? It's just a small quarrel. It'll be fine after a while. Can you two really become enemies? Tang Tang frowned and looked reluctant. I don't want to see her. Sister is too hateful. How is your mother hateful? Yang Chung was puzzled. She went behind my back to find a man, Tang Dang was finally forced to say it out helplessly. She said with a sobbing tone, she would be in heat from time to time and dress up like she's 10 years younger. Last night, she asked me if I would like a father if she found me. How did you answer? I said at the time that unless it's my own father, I'm firmly against it. Tang Tang said angrily. My father has been chasing her for almost 20 years, but she didn't even nod her head. Why should she be so cruel to my father and find another man? Yangqing suddenly understood and asked with a smile, in other words, you didn't see your mother with another man? I didn't see that. Was there a need to ask? I'm already so old, and this is the first time she asked me if I wanted to find a father for me. She must be raising a man outside. What raising a man? That's so bad. Don't talk about your mother like that. No matter what the reason was, it was not easy for a woman to bear the pressure to give birth to you and raise you. Yang Cheng lectured unhappily. Tang Tang refused to accept it and said, of course not. Without her, I still have a father. Dad hasn't married another woman for her and me. Dad has done so much. Why should he end up like this? So, you're crying out for your father? Yang Cheng felt that this relationship was a bit complicated. Tang Dang thought for a moment and shook her head slightly. Actually, it's not that, uncle. Don't look at me because I'm young, but I also know that feelings can't be forced. It's just that my sister suddenly became like this and refused to tell me if she has a man or not. I feel that she suddenly doesn't love me anymore. So, you used your father's matter to contradict her? Well, I just said a few words casually, and we ended up quarreling. Tang Tang said embarrassedly. Yang Cheng smiled. This quarrel was too unmeaningful. You can run away from home for such a small matter. Not really. Tang Tang hesitated for a moment and said, the main thing is that I feel very tired these days. Other than going to school, I'm not allowed to go out after school. I feel like I'm being watched like a prisoner, so I'm not happy. Yang Chen looked at Tang Tang meaningfully. This is what you hate the most in your heart, right? Tang Tang was silent and nodded obediently. Chapter 191. Yang Cheng stood up from his seat and wiped his oily hand with a napkin. Let's go. Follow me somewhere. Where? Tang Tang was worried that Yang Cheng would force her to go home. To find a high-end internet cafe. Internet cafe. Tang Tang smiled happily. Uncle, you're so nice. Not only did you treat me to a meal, but you're also taking me to the internet. Yang Cheng laughed. Don't worry, I'm not in the mood to take you play games. I just want to show you something. Ignoring Tang Tang's question, Yang Cheng walked out first. Tang Ang stuck to his side along the way, and the two of them walked for a few dozen meters before they found a large chain internet cafe. Walking into the internet cafe, Yang Cheng asked for the most expensive single room to surf the internet. Tang Tang was getting more and more curious, not knowing what Yang Cheng wanted to show her. He was being so mysterious and even wanted a separate room. Uncle, don't tell me you want to do that with me in the internet cafe. Tang Tang couldn't help but ask shyly. Do what? Yang Cheng didn't understand. Tang Tang blushed. It's that kind of intimate thing. Aya, why did you choose an internet cafe? Even if it's a separate room, I'll still feel embarrassed. Uncle, you're so bad. Liking this kind of thing. Yang Cheng finally understood what Tang Tang meant and reached out his hand to tap on the girl's forehead. What are you thinking about all day long? Do I look like that kind of pervert? You look like... Tang Tang said weakly. Yang Cheng ignored the eccentric girl who was at the age of puberty, walked into the separate room, turned on the computer, and began surfing the internet. Tang Tang stood behind Yang Cheng, no longer joking around, and watched patiently. After Yang Cheng opened the browser, he skillfully entered a website, and after pressing enter, a very strange image appeared on the page. The entire screen went black. Then, a pale golden ring-shaped object appeared in the center. The ring-shaped object was divided into 2 layers. Yang Cheng began to input various English subtitles and numbers into the blank space inside and outside the ring-shaped object. Tang Tang, who was at the back, was stunned. She realized that the URL Yang Cheng had entered had turned into a row of asterisks. She couldn't tell what the URL was, but it was more than 20 digits long. What was even more frightening was that the number of characters that had to be entered in the 2 rings had already exceeded 100, and all of them had become asterisk symbols. Obviously, it was something like a password. When Yang Cheng finished typing, the two ring-shaped objects began to rotate. When they rotated to a certain degree, as if they had completely merged, they disappeared from a screen. Uncle, that's so cool. The password for your account is at least 100 digits. How do you remember? Tang Tang couldn't believe it. Yang Cheng thought that there was no need to remember. With his brain power, 1,000 digits was a matter of glance. But he still casually explained, I just need to type a few more times. Oh, now that the screen is black, what do you want me to see, Uncle? Tang Tang was getting more and more excited. Yang Cheng rummaged around and took out a headset from a drawer. After connecting it to the computer, he said into the headset, Picture. As soon as he said that, the blackness on the computer screen dissipated, and an image of a photo album appeared. There were many categories in it, and the name of each category was on the cover. Yang Cheng said another word, but this word wasn't in English, nor was it in the Huaxiao language. To Tang Tang, it sounded like a relatively small language, but she couldn't tell what language it was. After saying that word, a picture of a native village appeared on the screen. There were all kinds of thatched houses decorated with colorful totems. There was a bonfire outside, and all kinds of bee skulls were stuck outside the houses like flags. In the distance was a towering, snow-capped mountain, and below it was an endless, withered, yellow grassland. Uncle, where is this? Tang Tang asked. She was already attracted by all the strange things. Yang Cheng said with a little nostalgia, this is an African native village called Bidia Lagwa. It's on a grassland in Central Africa. Although it belongs to the territory of an African country, it's a primitive area that's almost ungoverned. That village and some other similar native villages still maintained a slave system that was close to a primitive society. They fight with wild beasts, fight against the heat and cold, and often don't have enough to eat for a few days. They also have to fight for water by bleeding because the water source suddenly dried up. The mountain god they worship has never protected them. If any of them fall sick, they'll be thrown into the uninhabited wilderness and eaten by wild beasts. They're afraid of spreading the disease, and they're powerless to treat them. Tang Tang listened attentively. They're so pitiful. How can there be such a place in the world? Uncle, how do you have a picture of that place? Have you been there? About 6 years ago, due to some matters, I had to stay at that place for half a month. Since there wasn't much to do while I was waiting, I used a special camera to take some pictures, Yang Cheng said. 6 years ago, he wasn't even 18 years old. Then, Yang Cheng used voice control to flip through a few pictures. They were pictures of the primitive people living in the village. They were scantily dressed, and their faces were covered in paint. Men, women, old, and young were all black. They were eating the bloody, burnt meat of wild beasts. There was a picture that made Tang Tang blush. These natives were doing something outdoors to breed the next generation. This was a small society that made people feel completely out of touch with the real world. They seemed to be a special group that had been abandoned by the world. The dawn of human civilization had already excluded them thousands of years ago. He flipped to a picture of a thatched cottage in a native village. In the picture, a female villager was lying on a bed made of stones and hay. On her body, there was a baby that looked like he had just been born. He was thin and was lying on his mother's chest. On the other side of the bed sat a girl who was sucking her fingers. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at her younger brother and mother. Uncle, what is this? Tang Tang asked hesitantly. This woman is a widow in that village. Where her husband was bitten to death by a cheetah, she had just given birth to the boy. But in less than 2 months, the woman got cholera and constantly had diarrhea. Her body was as thin as a mummy. When I took this picture, the woman was already dead. But the baby boy didn't know that his mother was already dead. He was very hungry and wanted to drink milk, so he climbed onto his mother's chest and sucked it himself. But how could a woman who had already been hollowed out and turned into a corpse feed her child? The little girl by the bed was the eldest daughter. She was also very hungry because no one would give them food, but she knew that her mother was dead, so she could only stare blankly at the head of the bed. She watched her younger brother suck while she sucked her fingers. Before Tang Tang finished listening, Her eyes were already red. Uncle, what happened to them after that? Did they starve to death? Yang Cheng shook his head, his eyes revealing a hint of desolation. They didn't starve to death. Before they starved to death, the villagers who discovered their mother's death dragged them out. This pair of siblings became the village's food that day. Everyone was very happy. They all got a piece of meat, including their so-called grandfather and grandmother. Ah! Tang Tang cried out in shock. She covered her mouth as tears flowed down uncontrollably. How could they do this? Eat people. To them, a child without a mother is equivalent to a lion cub without the care of a lioness and a male lion. They can become food at any time. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. He knew that Tang Tang would be very sad, but he didn't expect that this girl's heart was so pure that she directly cried. Tang Tang turned her head away, wiped her tears, and waved at Yang Cheng. Don't say any more, uncle. Turn it off. I don't want to see any more. Yang Cheng nodded and exited the system. The computer screen returned to its original desktop, as if nothing had happened. Uncle, Tang Tang turned around and asked, although I don't know why you went to that kind of place, why didn't you save them? They died just like that. They were still so young. It was too pitiful. Save? How could I save them? Do you know, at that time, I was even younger than you are now. I brought those two children out of the prairie. The little girl might be able to, but her brother was still drinking milk. Yang Cheng shook his head and sighed. Furthermore, how could I save them? This kind of situation happens almost every day there. Tang Tang was silent. She sobbed a few times. Uncle, why did you show me this? It makes me so sad. Yang Cheng smiled slightly. I want you to make a comparison. Compared to them. How have you been since you were young? Compare to me? Tang Tang pouted and said, how can you compare to me? Although my parents can't be together, I still have my parents since I was young. Furthermore, I've never lacked money, so I can buy whatever I want. That's right. Compared to them, you're too lucky. They can't be like you. Even if you run away from home, you still have a spendthrift like me to bring you to McDonald's. Yang Cheng teased and continued. You think your life is tiring and your family isn't happy, but have you ever thought about how many children in the world are still facing tragic endings like theirs? Even I, who is close to you, do you think that a person who has obtained family happiness will go to that kind of lousy place where even birds don't lay eggs for more than half a month before the age of 18? You have someone to love you, someone to provide for you to eat, wear, and go to school. But because you're tired from studying for a month, your mother is strict with you, and you want to find a man, you fall out with her and run away from home. Do you know that the home you left is a place that many people dream of? Chapter 192. Yang Cheng's words shook Tang Tang's mind, and she was stunned for a moment. The two of them were silent for a while in the small room, and neither of them spoke. It was not until Yang Cheng turned off the computer that Tang Tang came back to her senses. How is it? Do you want to go home? Yang Cheng asked with a smile. Tang Tang pouted. No, you still haven't thought it through. Yang Cheng scratched his head gloomily. Although other people have their own hardships and you have your own wealth, these are unrelated things. But I feel that in your situation, you should lower your position and broaden your horizons. It's just a trivial matter. Why do you have to wander around outside instead of going home? You know there's danger, but you're still doing this. Tang Tang looked straight at Yang Cheng, and her eyes were full of stars. Uncle, I like you more and more. I really want to know why you went to that kind of place. I want to know what you did in the past. Oh my God, Uncle, don't you know that a man with a story will be very attractive to women? Don't change the subject. Moreover, at your age, can you be considered a woman? Just from the fact that you ran away from home today, it's enough to show that you're still a child. You haven't reached the level of maturity of an adult. Listen to me, I'll send you back. Yang Cheng persuaded. Tang Tang pouted and said faintly, Uncle, I really want to listen to you continue to lecture me. What? I like listening to you lecture me. It makes me feel like I have a father. There is some longing in Tang Tang's eyes. I'm not talking about my father who gave birth to me. I'm talking about a father who can accompany me, talk to me, play with me, educate me, and manage me. Yang Cheng was surprised. How did he get promoted from uncle to father? Actually, Tang Tang looked at Yang Cheng with a smile. If my sister found a man like uncle to be my father, I would be able to accept it. It's a pity that Uncle looks too plain. Although I know you're not ordinary, but for a strong woman like my sister, if she really found a man, he would definitely be one of those so-called successful people. Oomph. Even if she found someone who runs around outside all day, it's boring. Yang Cheng patted Tong Tong's head. Stop overthinking. Your mother is looking for a man, not for you. As long as he has a good character, it's fine. Why do you care so much? If I had a daughter like you, I would have died of a headache. Tang Tang was dissatisfied with Yang Cheng's constant patting of her head. She wrinkled her nose and said, Uncle, although I admit that I'm not mature enough, you can't treat me like a child. I won't grow taller if I keep patting my head. All right, then promise to go home. Yang Cheng said. Tang Tang muttered a few words, took out her small cell phone, and dialed a number. Not long later, the call connected. A woman's voice came through, and the voice that came from the phone was a little anxious. Hey, Tang Tang, you unlucky child. Where did you run off to? Why did you play truant again? Tang Tang put the phone away for a while, then came closer and said, Sis, I was wrong. Send someone to pick me up. You know you're wrong. You know you're wrong, but you still slipped out. Do you know how dangerous this is? You beautiful sister, are you going to let me go back or not? Tang Tang lamented. Unlucky child, how many times have I told you? Call me mother. Call me mother. Really, where are you? North of the commercial street. Just wait at the street. I'll send the driver over immediately. Don't move, don't walk around. Got it, sis. Why are you getting more and more talkative? Menopause shouldn't be this early. Call me mother. Call me mother. Without waiting for the woman to finish, Tang Tang hung up the phone and let out a long sigh. Yang Cheng roughly heard the conversation between the mother and daughter and couldn't help but laugh. Your mother is very impatient. That's not it. She's only impatient to me occasionally, but she's very dignified in front of outsiders. I get goosebumps just looking at her. Tang Tang said with a mischievous smile. Seeing that the matter was settled, Yang Cheng brought Tang Tang out of the internet cafe and sent her all the way to the north side of the street where they were waiting for the bus. Tang Tang suddenly thought of something and asked, Uncle, the 9th of next month is Brother Yuan Ye's birthday. Will you be there that day? Yang Cheng was stunned for a moment, then nodded. You know he called me? He won't hide anything from me. Tang Tang proudly raised her little tail. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. What's there to look forward to? It's not like we're meeting the country's president. The president isn't looking forward to it. Uncle is more interesting. Yang Cheng was helpless. Was this girl trying to suck up to him, or was she trying to embarrass him? Not long after, a silver-gray Cadillac sent by Tong Tong's mother arrived. 2 bodyguards got out of the car and looked at Yang Cheng warily, then opened the door for Tang Tang. The moment Tang Tang sat in the car, her face slightly darkened. After closing the door, she rolled down the window and suddenly asked Yang Cheng, Uncle, when will I be considered a mature person? Yang Cheng thought that this girl was going to say goodbye and was stunned by the question. She's still making things difficult for me before leaving. I'm not a philosopher. He thought for a moment and said, One day, when you feel that there's less and less to complain about, or there's almost nothing to complain about, then you won't be far from maturity. Tang Tang blinked her eyes, nodded slightly, and waved at Yang Cheng. Goodbye, Uncle. Watching the car disappear into the endless traffic, Yang Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at the time. It was only 3 in the afternoon, and he didn't plan to go back to work. Being alone like this, Yang Cheng remembered that he hadn't visited Qiangwei for a while and felt a pang of guilt. He always missed out on the woman who silently watched him from behind, who had no desires and no ambitions. Fortunately, the commercial street wasn't far from the bar street, so Yang Cheng didn't take a taxi. After walking for about 20 minutes, he entered Ro's bar. Everything in the bar was the same as usual. There were only a few customers, but the person at the bar was no longer Xiao Zhao, but Chen Rong. Chen Rong had cut her hair short, making her look clean and neat. This delicate and pretty girl, under the influence of Qiangwei, had gradually become confident and fashionable. Her clear eyes were still the same, but Yang Cheng could see that she was hiding a hidden tenacity. Seeing Yang Cheng enter, Chen Rong's face lit up and sweetly called out, Big Brother Yang. Yang Cheng hadn't seen Chen Rong and her brother Chen Bo in a while, so he asked, Rong Rong, how's your brother doing? Brother is doing well. He's now a columnist for a magazine. I think he's much happier than when he was working. Chen Rong happily said. Yang Cheng was a bit surprised, but thinking about it, Chen Bo was also a top student at Peking University, so maybe that was the career he was pursuing. Seeing that Chen Rong was no longer as timid as when she first came to Zhonghai, and had become the boss of the bar, Yang Cheng couldn't help but tease. Rong, it looks like you kicked Xiao Zhao off the stage. Not bad. Chen Rong blushed. Not at all. Brother Zhao was assigned to manage a large territory. Now the entire Western District is controlled by Sister Qiangwei, so she's very short on manpower, so I replaced her. You can get used to everything, right? Of course, what Yang Cheng was referring to was not the simple bar business. Chen Rong paused, then smiled and nodded. Actually, if you see more, you'll really get used to it. Yang Cheng could see that Chen Rong was sincere, so he didn't ask anymore. He gave the girl an encouraging look, then walked to the hallway that led to Qiangwei's bedroom. When he stepped into the familiar large bedroom, Yang Cheng saw a scene that he had never seen before. At the desk by the wall of the bedroom, Qiangwei sat on a leather chair, wearing a plain white chiffon pajamas. Her long hair was a little messy, and her face without any makeup was a little pale. She wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses on her tall nose bridge and held a fountain pen in her hand as she wrote something on a notebook. On the computer screen on the desk was a dense pile of reports. Seeing that it was Yang Cheng who walked in, Qiangwei's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. She put down her pen, took off her glasses, and smiled. Hubby, why did you suddenly come in the day? Don't you need to work? Yang Cheng walked to Qiangwei's side and picked up the black-rimmed glasses that he had taken off. The glasses were only rims, and there were no lenses. As he played with them, he said with a smile, I'm here to see my woman, so why do I need to care about the time? I didn't expect my darling Qiangwei to have such an office side. You really look like a qualified white-collar worker. How can there be a white-collar worker who works in pajamas? Qiangwei pouted and snatched the glasses back. She was a little embarrassed. Actually, I'm just putting on an act to give myself a bookish look. Otherwise, I'll feel awkward managing those accounts and whatnot. Why? Are you planning to start a legitimate business like Zhou Guangyan from Dongxing? Yang Cheng asked curiously. Qiangwei shook her head. No matter how much I try to wash myself clean, the underworld is the underworld. If there's white in this world, there must be black. I don't think it's bad to have a lot of underworld businesses, but if I don't deal drugs, people, or weapons, then the basic income of the underworld isn't enough. So, I still created a few clean companies so that I can balance my income. Yang Cheng said in agreement. Looks like my darling Qiangwei has understood the true meaning of the underworld. There's actually nothing to compare black and white. When it gets bigger, it's both an economy and a society. Just like Japan, without the Yamaguchi Gumi, Japanese society would be in chaos. Italy, without the mafia, half of the country would be paralyzed. As long as you don't touch the bottom line of the country, then you can become bigger and stronger. Qiangwei's eyes lit up and she asked curiously, Hubby, the Yamaguchi Gumi, the mafia, are they stronger or you? Yang Cheng was stunned. Facing Qiangwei, he felt that there was nothing much to hide, but he definitely couldn't explain in detail. So he said, I can only say that I'm not on the same level as them. If I have an enemy, it definitely won't be them, and they won't be my enemy. Just like how the gods in heaven don't fight with the emperor on earth? Qiangwei asked. Something like that. Qiangwei didn't ask anymore. She stood up from her seat and stretched her waist. Hubby, wait for a moment. I'll go take a shower and then accompany you. Why are you taking a shower now? We still have to eat later. Can't you take a shower at night? Yang Cheng asked with a bitter smile. Qiangwei was stunned. She turned around, her face slightly red, and asked doubtfully, Hubby, you didn't come to do that with me? What? It's that kind of thing. Although they were very familiar with each other, Qiangwei still couldn't say it too directly. Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Darling Qiangwei, why would you think that? When did I say that I came here to sleep with you? Qiangwei lowered her head and whispered, Because you've always been like this? I thought that you came here today, so Seeing Qiang Wei's reaction, Yang Cheng felt a pain in his heart. The impression he gave this woman was that he would only think of her when he needed to vent in bed. She had always felt that way, but she had never complained to him. It was as if everything was right and proper. She would always respond to him with the warmest smile and was willing to stay with him in a narrow space for a short period of time. She had no complaints or regrets. Yang Cheng suddenly remembered that he had almost never taken Qiang Wei out. The two of them had already had so many primitive exchanges, but they hadn't even eaten a meal, watched a movie, or gone shopping between ordinary lovers. It was the hardest to bear a beauty's kindness. Yang Cheng looked at Qiang Wei, who seemed to have done something wrong and was at a loss for what to do. He wanted to slap himself. Thinking of this, Yang Cheng made up his mind and smiled gently. "Darling, just change your clothes and let's go." Chapter 193. Hearing that Yang Cheng was going out, Qiang Wei thought she had misheard and asked, "Hubby, did you say you're going out?" "Yes, beautiful Miss Qiang Wei. Are you not willing to have dinner with a poor office worker like me?" Yang Cheng asked with a face full of pity. Qiang Wei confirmed that she had not misheard, and the expression on her face was very rich. There was joy, touched, but most of it was confusion and unnaturalness, as if all of this was too unrealistic. Then I'll change my clothes." Although she was a woman, Qiang Wei was obviously much faster in dressing up than other beauties. She simply changed into a violet floral print dress and a pair of crystal high heels, which slightly covered her tall and plump figure, but did not lose its allure. Her pretty face with light makeup was perfect, and 10 minutes later, she walked out of the bar holding Yang Cheng's arm. Having already understood that Yang Cheng wanted to go out on a date with her, Qiang Wei's smile became much brighter, and the unexpected surprise made her feel a little dreamy. "Hubby, where are we going to eat?" Qiang Wei ignored the surprised gazes of some of the Red Thorn Society members outside the bar and asked Yang Cheng affectionately. Yang Cheng thought for a moment and asked, "Qiang Wei, baby, I remember that you have a car, right? Why don't we drive your car and go to a place far away to eat? It's not very suitable to walk there so late at night." Qiang Wei's bright eyes turned, and she took out her black iPhone and dialed a number. "Little Zhao, since I'm going to drive the new car I bought half a year ago to the entrance of the bar, I want to use it." Yang Cheng looked at the person Qiang Wei sent and sighed slightly. In the past, he also ordered people around like this, but now he was ordered around by others. Although he asked for it, he could be considered as a commoner. In less than 10 minutes, the car that Qiang Wei had sent stopped in front of the bar. The driver got off the car and looked at Qiang Wei with admiration. He handed the car keys to Qiang Wei with both hands. Qiang Wei directly handed the keys to Yang Cheng. "Hubby, you drive. I don't know how to drive." A woman who knew how to drive would say that she didn't know how to drive. Apart from acting coquettishly, it was also because she wanted to be able to watch the man driving. Qiang Wei belonged to the latter. Yang Cheng was a little surprised because Qiang Wei's new sapphire blue car turned out to be an extremely rare Lotus in Huaxia, an English Lotus sports car. This car was also regarded as a famous high-end sports car in foreign countries. Its special, iconic design style was fanatically pursued by countless car lovers. The beautiful, streamlined design was extremely attractive to the eyes of female car lovers. However, this was the first time that Yang Cheng had seen one in Huaxia. Even Lin Ruoxi, that rich woman's luxury car museum, didn't have this car. "You chose it yourself?" Yang Cheng asked as he opened the door for Qiang Wei. Qiang Wei gracefully sat in, fastened her seatbelt, and smiled embarrassedly. "I know about murder, arson, usury, kidnapping, and so on, but I don't know anything about cars. They showed me a few photos, and I felt that this car was beautiful, so I chose it." Yang Cheng said with dissatisfaction, "Women shouldn't always talk like they are the boss of the underworld. It's not good to scare passers-by." "Isn't she the boss of the underworld?" Qiang Wei pouted, but still nodded with an "oh." Driving the Lotus sports car that attracted the attention of countless passers-by, Yang Cheng took Qiang Wei directly onto the highway and sped all the way to a lakeside in the suburbs of Zhonghai. There were many high-end Western restaurants here. Since he wanted to bring his woman to experience romance and enjoy the good times of the outside world, It couldn't be too simple. Whether Qiang Wei cared or not was one thing, but what Yang Cheng did was another. When they got out of the car, Yang Cheng pulled Qiang Wei's hand. "Wait, I'll open the door for you." After saying that, under Qiang Wei's hesitant gaze, Yang Cheng got out of the car and walked half a circle, opened the door for Qiang Wei, and made an inviting gesture. "Please, beautiful lady." The male waiters at the entrance of the restaurant all saw this scene, but they were used to it, so they didn't think it was strange. But Qiang Wei was different. It was strange enough that Yang Cheng suddenly brought her out, and he even served her like a princess. No matter how they looked at it, it felt awkward, but her heart was filled with sweetness, and her face was blushing. There were some things, even if it was awkward, women would still enjoy it. The two of them held hands and walked into the Western restaurant by the lake. The whole structure was made of European wood and iron, and there were many furnishings like saddles, horseshoes, and knight's armor. The yellow and dim light was emitted from the glass lampshade, and the whole restaurant was shrouded in a hazy and ambiguous atmosphere. Yang Cheng saw Qiang Wei looking around, full of curiosity, and felt even more pity for her. "I'll bring you out to play more in the future. You've earned so much money, and you have thousands of subordinates, but you're always cooped up in such a small space. It's too much of a waste of your life." Qiang Wei shook her head. "No, ever since I met you, I've never felt bored. When you're here, I'm very happy, and when you're not here, waiting makes me feel very fulfilled. If I were an actor, I'd definitely cry right now, but I'm not. But please believe me, you've moved me again," Yang Cheng said sincerely. This woman always used the most direct and unpretentious expression, which made people feel deeply touched. Qiang Wei smiled sweetly. "Actually, I don't think I'm very suitable for this kind of occasion. You see, other women go out with a bag and even wear a hat to eat in this kind of place. I just casually put on some clothes and come here, just like a country bumpkin. How about I buy you a bag later? I don't think I've seen you carry a bag. I'll buy one for you." Yang Cheng asked expectantly. Qiang Wei shook her head. "If I needed it, my subordinates would have already sent me hundreds of them. My daily necessities are all purchased directly. I don't carry a bag because I don't need it. If it's a scabbard or a holster, if I can buy a limited edition classic gun that has already been discontinued, I'd like it better." The waiter who led the two to the table in front of them obviously paused. Yang Chen knew that the poor fellow was frightened. He couldn't help but smile and say, "Babe, didn't I tell you before? Don't always think about fighting and killing. It's fine to just plant flowers and plants. Shooting guns, soaking in water, and flying planes are all for men." Qiang Wei rolled her eyes at him and didn't say anything. After sitting down, the two of them ordered a bottle of 1983 Lafite. This wine was expensive, which made the waitress in charge smile. However, when Yang Cheng ordered the steak, he directly ordered 3, which made the waitress very puzzled. "Sir, do you have any friends who haven't arrived yet?" the waitress asked. Yang Cheng shook his head and said, "No, I'll eat 3. The waitress's face was full of black lines. "Run away." Qiang Wei frowned and said, "Honey, eat more vegetables. Eating so much meat is not good for your health." Yang Cheng smiled indifferently and said, "Although scientific research and health theory say that eating too much meat is not good for your health, I like to eat meat since I was a child. In the past years, I spent almost all my time eating meat and drinking wine. I'm still fine. Moreover, Qiang Wei baby, you should know more about some of my body's conditions than ordinary people. I'm not a normal human." At the end of his words, Yang Cheng's face was a little bitter. Qiang Wei complained, "What are you talking about? Don't talk about yourself like that. What's wrong with you?" Knowing that this woman didn't like what he said, Yang Cheng didn't complain anymore. When the steak was served, he began to brandish his knife and fork. Although Qiang Wei had never eaten in a Western restaurant, she was also from a wealthy family, and her family's education was very good. She ate elegantly and dignified, swallowed slowly, and sipped the red wine naturally. The two talked and laughed about all kinds of things that had happened in the past year since they met. Looking back, although it wasn't a long time, there were too many things worth recalling and sighing about. Just as they were eating happily, The waitress suddenly came to the table with a bottle of Margaret's red wine. She said to Qiang Wei with a smile, "Miss, a gentleman asked me to bring this bottle of red wine over and told me to bring you a message." "What gentleman? What message?" Qiang Wei didn't understand what was going on. The waitress said, "That gentleman said that only Margaret's royal temperament can match your beauty." Qiang Wei was stunned and looked at Yang Cheng. Seeing that Yang Cheng didn't have any reaction, she turned back and said to the waitress, "Send it back. I don't need it." The waitress retreated, but not long after, a refined man dressed in a suit and leather shoes, with a parting of his hair and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, walked over. In his hand was a bottle of world-class red wine that was worth over $10,000. He walked up to Rose. Jiang Wen directly ignored Yang Cheng and said to Qiang Wei with a warm smile, "Miss, I'm Jiang Wen. It's only because I admire your beauty that I boldly gave you this bottle of red wine. I hope I didn't offend you." Qiang Wei put down her knife and fork and frowned slightly. "I said I don't need it. Miss, I hope you can give me a reason to reject me. I believe that if you're willing to give me a chance to interact with you, I won't be any worse than a vulgar man who eats 3 22-ounce steaks for a meal." Jiang Wen was naturally mocking Yang Cheng, who was still eating without stopping. However, Jiang Wen's self-confident performance had caused Qiang Wei to be extremely dissatisfied. Qiang Wei's pretty face was clearly surging with dark clouds. At this moment, Yang Cheng ate the last mouthful of beef and wiped his mouth with a white towel. He burped and said to Jiang Wen, "Hey, is this wine expensive?" Jiang Wen didn't even turn his head and was still looking at Qiang Wei with intoxicated eyes. He replied, "Although Lafite is the queen of red wine, it's still slightly inferior to this bottle of Margaret. You won't understand even if I tell you." "That's true, but I don't think I need to understand." Yang Cheng stood up leisurely and suddenly reached out to grab the wine bottle in Jiang Wen's hand. Jiang Wen didn't have the strength to hold on, and the bottle in his arms was directly snatched away by Yang Cheng. "Mister, what are you trying to do?" Jiang Wen glared at him angrily. Yang Cheng looked at the label of the red wine and held the mouth of the red wine bottle. He smiled at Jiang Wen. "You'll find out very soon." As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Cheng threw the red wine bottle in an arc. Bang! The sound of the wine bottle shattering was heard, and the red wine splashed everywhere. The loud noise shocked half of the people in the restaurant. The few guests who were closest to him were all dumbfounded. Yang Cheng directly smashed the wine bottle on Jiang Wen's head. Jiang Wen's eyes rolled back, and a red liquid flowed down his head. It was unknown whether it was wine or blood. He staggered a few steps back and fell under the table. He seemed to have fainted. "Sigh, it's fine if you look down on me for eating too much, but you have nothing better to do than to steal a woman in front of me. Aren't you playing with your life?" Yang Cheng threw the remaining glass bottle on Jiang Wen and picked up a towel to wipe his hands. The surrounding people were stunned. With this smash, not to mention the poor Jiang Wen, just the bottle of wine alone was worth more than 10,000 yuan. Chapter 194. Accompanied by the screams of several women, the restaurant manager and several waiters noticed the situation and rushed over. Yang Cheng saw that Qiang Wei had almost finished eating. He took out a few red bills and threw them on the table. He asked Qiang Wei, "Shall we go?" Qiang Wei had already guessed that Yang Cheng wanted to punish this guy who didn't know how to appreciate favors, but she didn't expect it to be so direct. Now that she was almost full, she nodded and got up to leave with Yang Cheng. As for the guy on the ground who delivered the wine, Qiang Wei didn't care about his life or death. The restaurant manager saw that Yang Cheng was going to leave with the woman who caused the disaster. He immediately stopped in front of Yang Cheng and said nervously, "Sir, you knocked out another guest. How can you just run away like this?" Yang Cheng smiled and said, "I just finished eating and left. It's not like I didn't pay the bill. As for me knocking him out, that's his business. What does it have to do with you? This is the responsibility of our restaurant. We have the obligation to protect our guests." "Then am I your guest?" Yang Cheng asked. "Yes," the restaurant manager replied. Yang Cheng said again, "Then why do you still stop me? You have to protect him and me. Then why do you care so much about the matter between me and him?" The restaurant manager's logic was a little chaotic. He hurriedly said, "You must inform the police." "That's right. You inform the police. We can go our own way. You don't have the right to lock us up." After that, Yang Chung was about to leave. The manager took 2 steps back, but he was still stopped by several waiters. He said, "Sir, I can't explain to the victim. Please stay here." Yang Chung was a little impatient. He closed his eyes and opened them again. The manager was staring at Yang Chung. At this moment, suddenly, it seemed that a violent and hazy fear surged into his heart. Yang Cheng's seemingly ordinary eyes were like a steel knife that penetrated his heart, making the manager almost bend his knees. "Can we go now?" "Yes, yes." The manager of the restaurant broke out in a cold sweat and retreated to the side. The restaurant manager watched as Yang Chung and Luo Binghe left. All the strength in his body seemed to drain away, and he slumped to the ground. At this time, Jiang Wen, who was in a coma, woke up and let out a painful moan. When he walked out of the restaurant, the moon was already bright in the sky, and the autumn wind was blowing, making him feel cold. There were already many people strolling by the lake. The willows by the lake had already withered their thin leaves, but the red maple trees were still in their prime, glistening like fire under the glow of the street lamps. Xiang Wei stretched lazily and walked in front. She walked backward slowly and said with a smile, "Hubby, you don't have to scare them like that. That restaurant manager is quite pitiful." Yang Chung smiled. "I'm also doing it for his own good. If I just leave like that, it will be a private grudge between us and that Jiang guy. In his restaurant, it will definitely affect other people and his restaurant's business." "That's true. I just don't know if that annoying guy has woken up. It's best if he becomes a vegetable," Xiang Wei said bluntly. Jiang Wen's impression of Xiang Wei was terrible. To a large extent, it was because Jiang Wen had mocked the man she loved in front of Xiang Wei. The two of them wandered around the lake for a while before returning to the parking lot. They took the car and left the dining area. The road back was very quiet. Because the suburban roads were spacious, there were relatively few people, so the road conditions were abnormally good. However, when the car was about to reach the intersection of the highway, Yang Chung suddenly realized that there were 7 or 8 black cars lined up on the road in front of him, all of them facing him. Yang Chung had no choice but to stop the car, but at the same time, the 8 cars in front of him all lit up their headlights. Moreover, there were 16 modified hernia headlights. The blazing white light made it difficult to open one's eyes. The cars behind Yang Chung could only slow down and stop. Everyone was blocked from entering the highway. Yang Chung looked at Xiang Wei, who was sitting beside him. Xiang Wei's expression was already not good. She had clearly guessed that it was that Jiang Wen's doing. "Hubby, you should have hit his temple," Xiang Wei said angrily. Yang Chung smiled bitterly. This lady was really angry. Today was supposed to be their first intimate outdoor date. Xiang Wei was full of joy, and her mood was just right. She met such an unappreciative fellow who spouted nonsense. Not only did he ruin her mood, but he was also endless. At this moment, under the illumination of the lights, a dozen figures walked over. Under the white light, they could clearly see a pale and ferocious man with a white bandage on his head. It was Jiang Wen who was lying on the floor just now. Beside him was a middle-aged man with a bulbous nose and a silver necklace around his neck. His hair was extremely short, and he wore a flowery shirt and a black suit. He walked beside Jiang Wen with a calm expression. Jiang Wen pointed at the Azure Lotus sports car and said to the middle-aged man, "Brother Hao, it's the man and woman in this car." The woman didn't know how to appreciate favors, and "The man beat me up like this." The middle-aged man called Brother Hao waved his hand, and a henchman behind him immediately rushed forward with a steel pipe in his hand, ready to smash the car. Because the sports car's glass was specially treated, the people outside couldn't see clearly what was happening inside. Seeing that no one got out of the car, they wanted to use force. Naturally, Yang Chung wouldn't wait for someone to smash the car. He opened the door and got out of the car. He said to the henchman who was rushing over aggressively, "Hey, wait. What are you smashing? Can you afford to pay for it?" Seeing someone get out of the car, the henchman stopped and looked back at his boss. "Brother Hao, it's this kid. He's the one who beat me up." Jiangwen grabbed Brother Hao's arm and shouted angrily. Brother Hao smiled at Jiangwen. Young Master Jiang, let's make it clear. After this business is done, you can't run away with 1 million. Don't worry. As long as you help me get rid of him and get that woman, 1 million is nothing, Jiangwen said with a burning gaze. But Brother Hao, don't let me get into trouble. Brother Hao laughed and patted Jiangwen's shoulder. Good brother. When have I ever let you get into trouble when I do things for you? As long as the money is delivered, everything is negotiable. With that, Brother Hao turned his gaze to Yang Cheng. He looked at Yang Cheng with interest and asked, Little brother, this car, is it yours? Yang Cheng shook his head and said truthfully, It's my woman's. Brother Hao looked like he understood. So you're a gigolo. Not bad. You're able to get a rich woman with looks like this. But since what happened today, Hao, have to give young Master Jiang an explanation. Why don't you invite your beauty out? It's so boring sitting in the car. If this Jiang guy gives you 1 million, you'll agree to work for him. Why don't you ask us if we'll give you money too, and let you get rid of him instead? Yang Qing asked unhurriedly. Brother Hao's eyes lit up. I like your suggestion. If you can give me a price that moves me, maybe I'll change my plan. Jiangwen panicked and immediately shouted, Brother Hao, you can't do this. We've worked together so many times. How can you help outsiders deal with me? Brother Hao looked at Jiangwen coldly. Young Master Jiang, we work for money, not for you. If you can give us more money than them, we'll naturally be brothers with you. Jiangwen's face turned red and white. He was obviously furious. He cursed ingrates in his heart. He really didn't dare to say it out loud. Then, little brother, how much can you give? I won't change my plan if the price is too low. Brother Hao said with a face full of anticipation. Yang Cheng thought about it and gave Brother Hao the middle finger. Take this. Brother Hao frowned and asked, A finger and 10,000? Yang Cheng smiled and shook his head. 10,000 is definitely too low. How about 100,000? Brother Hao asked again. Yang Cheng still shook his head. 1 million? You're offering 2 million. Brother Hao was overjoyed. Yang Cheng felt helpless and sighed sorrowfully. Do you only care about money or what? Can't you see that I'm giving you the middle finger? Brother Hao almost fainted from anger. His face was purple. If it weren't for his short hair, he would probably be steaming. What the F***CK? You're playing me. Brother Hao roared. Yang Cheng waved his hand. Forget it. I'm not interested in playing with men. Brother Hao finally couldn't take it anymore. He grinned. I'm not interested in wasting my time with you. Since the woman in your car won't come out, Hao, will invite her out on your behalf today. I'll show you what a man is in front of a pretty boy like you. After that, Brother Hao strode to the front passenger seat door and opened the door. Chapter 195. The moment the car door opened, Brother Hao froze on the spot with one hand on the door. His eyes were wide open and his mouth could not close. Jiangwen carefully guarded against Yang Cheng and then ran to Brother Hao's side. When he saw Qiang Wei sitting quietly in the seat, his eyes were full of passion. What do you think, Brother Hao? This girl is not bad, right? Brother Hao's soul seemed to be pulled back by these words. His eyes were instantly filled with disbelief and intense fear. His whole body trembled a little, and he swallowed his saliva. He mechanically turned his head to look at Jiangwen, who had a lecherous expression on his face. His face was clouded with rage. You bastard! Brother Hao raised his sandbag-sized fist and directly punched Jiangwen's handsome face. Ouch! Jiangwen screamed in pain. Blood spurted from his mouth and nose. He dizzily spun a few times and touched his hot nose blood. He almost cried and shouted, Brother Hao, why did you suddenly hit me? I want you to deal with this adulterous couple. Adulterous couple? Brother Hao suddenly felt a chill from the soles of his feet to his head. He lifted his long leg and kicked Jiangwen's chest again. Jiangwen's not-so-heavy body rolled 3 meters away. This time, Jiangwen directly coughed out a mouthful of extravasated blood and fainted on the spot. Poor guy. This was the second time in a short period of time that he was attacked in public and lost consciousness. Brother Hao trembled and turned around. He put his arms around his waist and put on a smile that was uglier than crying. He smirked at the expressionless Chiang Wei in the car seat. President, I didn't expect it to be you. It's really a case of water rushing into the temple of the Dragon King. One family doesn't know each other anymore. If I knew it was you, then how would what? Chiang Wei turned her head and asked calmly. But it was precisely this emotionless tone that made Brother Hao's heart turn cold. His feet seemed to be glued to the ground, and it was difficult for him to move even half a step. Standing on the other side, Yang Chung watched this dramatic scene. He didn't expect this guy to be Chiang Wei's subordinate. He didn't plan to do anything else. He leaned against the front of the car and watched how Chiang Wei would solve the problem. The underlings who followed Brother Hao also noticed the unusual situation. They whispered to each other and discussed what was going on. Chiang Wei sighed slightly. Hao, you're better than me. Blocking the road with a car, taking the blame for someone else, beating people up, snatching women, casually asking for 1 million, 2 million. I didn't know that I had someone as capable as you among my subordinates. Brother Hao immediately cried out, President, please listen to my explanation. I was also forced to do it. That old man, surnamed Jiang, is the second in command of this district procuratorate. I was only helping him out for the sake of my brothers. The money I brought was also handed over to the society. Is that so? How much did you hand over last year? Chiang Wei looked at him indifferently and asked. Brother Hao was speechless for a moment. He knew that he couldn't lie because every year's financial records were kept. After a long time, he could only say in a low voice, 200,000, then what else do you want to defend yourself for? Chiang Wei asked directly. Brother Hao lowered his head. His face was pale. He clenched his teeth, but couldn't say anything. Chiang Wei glanced at him and said, You were one of the first people to defect from the West Union Society to my Red Thorn Society, so I never divided your power. Apart from a few elders in the society, the power you have now can definitely be ranked in the top 20 of the society. But I didn't expect that the brothers I put under your hands would become these brazen robbers who block the road to rob people. You should know the rules I set and the path you have to take next. President, please give me another chance. Brother Hao directly knelt on the ground and said in fear and trepidation, I didn't give you the chance. You should have grabbed it yourself. You appeared in front of me today, and it wasn't the first time you did this. I can't indulge you anymore. As Chiang Wei spoke, she had already taken out her phone and made a call. Big sister, what's your order? Little Zhao's warm response came from the other end. Little Zhao, send someone to take over Hao's territory in the 21st block. Brother Hao, who was kneeling on the ground, heard this and suddenly raised his head. His face was full of panic. Little Zhao on the other end of the phone was only slightly stunned. He immediately said, Understood, big sister. He didn't ask why. After hanging up the phone, Chiang Wei looked at Brother Hao. Go. No matter where you go, if there's someone who's willing to go with you, you can also take him with you. I won't stop you on account of some things in the past. Brother Hao gulped and stood up shakily. His face was gloomy, and he bowed 90 degrees to Chong. Thank you, President. Hao will never forget. After saying that, Brother Hao turned around and pretended to leave. But almost in an instant, Brother Hao's body quickly turned around again. No one knew when it started, but a cold light flashed in his right hand. A Swiss Army knife appeared in his hand, and he suddenly stabbed it at the silent Chiang Wei. *TCH. I want you dead. Brother Hao roared violently. Yangqing noticed Brother Hao's intention immediately, but he didn't jump over the car to kick Brother Hao away, because he knew that it was not necessary. Just as the sharp knife was about to pierce Chiang Wei's throat, Chiang Wei suddenly exerted force with one of her hands, and the knife just happened to hit Brother Hao's wrist. Brother Hao's wrist went numb, and he almost lost his grip on the knife. Chiang Wei seized the opportunity, grabbed Brother Hao's hand, and flipped it in the opposite direction. Crack! The sound of bones dislocating was heard, and Brother Hao's hand that was holding the knife was facing himself. Before Brother Hao could recover from the pain, the hand that was holding the knife was pushed toward Brother Hao by Chiang Wei. The sharp knife sank into Brother Hao's chest and went straight into his lungs. Brother Hao let out a muffled groan and staggered back a few steps before collapsing to the ground. The clothes on his chest had been dyed bright red, and his lips had lost all color. He lay down with his eyes open and breathing difficult. Xiangwei sat in the car from beginning to end, and her series of movements were smooth and fluid. In the blink of an eye, the victim had completely fallen. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. When the group of henchmen saw the woman that even their boss was afraid of, and how could they dare to stay any longer, they immediately rushed to the car and drove away. Yang Chung also got into the driver's seat, closed the door, and started the car to leave. No one paid much attention to the two people lying in the middle of the road. Perhaps the police would arrive later, but the killer and the victim were both from the Red Thorn Society. The final resolution of the matter depended on what Xiangwei thought. It would be the same sooner or later. When the car drove onto the highway, Xiangwei sighed regretfully and said with a bit of shame, "I'm sorry, hubby. I didn't expect things to turn out like this." "Why do you say that? It's not your fault that you're beautiful," Yang Chung said with a smile. Xiangwei pursed her lips and forced a smile. "No, it's the first time you brought me out, but because I didn't manage my henchmen well, we ended up like this. I feel very sorry. Do you feel disappointed that the date didn't work out after a beautiful beginning?" Yang Chung asked. Xiangwei thought about it and nodded. "A little, but that's life. No one knows what will happen next. We can only accept our fate." "That's not necessarily true." After Yang Chung said that, he didn't wait to get off the highway back to the bar and directly turned into the nearest lane. "Hubby, where are we going?" Xiangwei asked in puzzlement. "Take a guess." Xiangwei smiled and rebuked. "I don't go out often. How can I recognize other roads?" Yang Chung didn't answer her. After driving through a few relatively deserted streets, he came to an area that was densely lit. It was surrounded by all kinds of neon lights, and the traffic was heavy. Although the road was relatively spacious, it was difficult to drive on the road because of the dense number of pedestrians. This was one of the famous night markets in Zhonghai. Every night, it would become a big stage with crowds surging. When Yang Chung drove his sapphire blue Lotus into the crowd, he immediately attracted a lot of envious gazes. It was like the most shining scenery in the night market. Xiangwei sat in the car. She was a little nervous. Even if she was facing a group of people and a row of machine guns, she wouldn't feel this nervous. Since she was young, she had never seen so many people. She had never seen such a lively scene. What's more, she had become the focus of everyone. All of a sudden, Yang Chun stopped the car right in the middle of the night market's crowd. "Hubby," without waiting for Xiangwei to ask, Yang Chung pressed a button on the roof of the car. This Lotus was a convertible with a hard folding top. So after a simple press, the roof of the sports car slowly retracted and folded into the trunk. For a moment, the noisy shouts, music, and traffic outside all burst into the ears of the two of them. Sitting in the car, Yang Chung and Xiangwei naturally attracted everyone's attention. However, because they knew that this car was definitely an incomparably valuable item, not many people got close. They all kept a distance and watched, not knowing what these two rich people wanted to do. Xiangwei's beauty naturally attracted countless burning gazes. This made Xiangwei very uncomfortable. She was already used to living alone in the dark. Even if she had a meeting with her own subordinates, she was relatively quiet and didn't communicate much with others. Now that she was facing so many emotional and colorful gazes, Xiangwei's heartbeat continued to accelerate. The dazzling lights of the night market illuminated the two of them, as well as the dense crowd. Yang Chung turned his head and looked at the restrained and helpless Xiangwei with a smile. "Hubby, why are you doing this?" Xiangwei mumbled, her face blushing. The various faces around her made her nervous. "Because I want to give you a perfect date." As Yang Chung spoke, he leaned over and wrapped his hand around Xiangwei's slender waist and back. Under Xiangwei's wide, open eyes, he kissed Xiangwei's thin lips. For a moment, all the men, women, old and young stopped in their tracks. Even hawkers were watching the two of them, paying attention to this pair of bold lovers. When she was drowned by the fiery breath, Xiangwei realized that she and the man she loved were kissing in front of countless strangers. Xiangwei reluctantly moved her cherry lips away with difficulty. Her face was flushed as she panted and said, "Hubby, don't be like this." Everyone is watching. You don't like me kissing you? No. No. Then can we cover the hood? Xiang Wei pleaded. Yang Cheng shook his head. If it's covered, why buy such a car? But you don't have to lower the hood to kiss me. Xiang Wei was so shy that she wanted to crawl under the car's seat. Yang Cheng reached out and stroked Xiang Wei's soft and fragrant hair. He said gently, I want everyone to see that Situ Xiang Wei is my, Yang Cheng's woman. She is not a pitiful person who can only live in the dark and can't see the light. Instead, she is a happy woman who makes all other women jealous. She is more beautiful than anyone else, more outstanding than anyone else. I love her, and I am not afraid of anyone laughing at me. After saying that, Yang Cheng kissed her again. Their lips and teeth met, and the water flowed. This time, Rose did not avoid it. She closed her moist eyes tightly, and crystal-clear tears rolled down her cheeks. Mixed with happiness and sorrow, it was a complex feeling. Countless gazes were focused on the man and woman. Everyone seemed to have stopped their heated conversation and quietened down. Only the music in the various shops was still playing. Gradually, a few young people began to applaud. Gradually, the sparse applause became a crowd, and then a crowd. When the audience was full of applause and cheers, many young couples couldn't help but kiss. The man and woman in the car were already immersed in each other's world and forgot where they were. In the vast sea of people, the two of them seemed so small. After tonight, how many people would still remember the lingering kiss in the car that night? Chapter 196. The next day happened to be Saturday. After a night's sleep at Rose Bar, Yang Cheng returned to the villa in Dragon Garden, full of energy, just in time for breakfast. As usual, Lin Ruoshi, who was wearing a flowery nightgown, was already sitting quietly at the big table, chewing her breakfast slowly. When she saw Yang Cheng enter the door, she glanced at him coldly as a greeting and continued to eat. Mother Wang, who was wearing an apron, came out of the kitchen with a plate of golden and tempting egg pancakes. When she saw Yang Cheng, who hadn't returned home all night, she didn't ask where he was going. She immediately invited Yang Cheng to sit down and said with a smile, Young master, I knew you would come home at this time. The bowls and chopsticks have been prepared for you. Yang Cheng looked at the table, and there were indeed 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks. He couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Mother Wang trusted him so much, but he just happened to come home at this time. If it weren't for Xiang Wei sleeping like a pig, he might have had a fight for a while before coming home. Mother Wang, in the future, if I don't return home at night, you don't have to prepare more for me, Yang Cheng said honestly. Mother Wang said disapprovingly, It's one thing to come back or not. It's another for me to prepare a few things. It's more like a family to prepare more things. Anyway, I have nothing to do. With that, Mother Wang went back to the kitchen happily. Yang Cheng sat down and faced Lin Ruoshi. When he was about to scoop a bowl of porridge, he found that a newspaper from this morning was placed next to the rice cooker. It was a Zhonghai Metropolis Daily. On the page that was flipped open, there was a line of bold words, Rich second-generation couple kisses in luxury car, suburban night market seats. Under the title, there was an enlarged photo of a sapphire blue sports car. A young man and a young woman were hugging each other tightly and kissing passionately. Let's not talk about the rich second generation. No matter how Yang Cheng looked at it, the couple was him and Xiang Wei. Even if it wasn't a photo of their faces, just their backs and silhouettes, anyone who was familiar with him would definitely be able to tell. Damn, reported. It was obvious that Lin Ruoshi had purposely placed the newspaper beside the rice cooker after reading it. However, she was currently eating her breakfast in silence, without any sadness or joy, as if nothing had happened. It was worth pondering over. If it was before, Lin Ruoshi would probably mock him and cast him a disdainful look. But after spending time together, the two of them were becoming more and more like husband and wife, or rather, they had a certain emotional foundation. Under such circumstances, Lin Ruoshi saw him being intimate with another woman in the most direct way. It was even on the newspaper, but she still kept her cool and didn't say a word. Yang Cheng didn't think that Lin Ruoshi didn't care at all. If she didn't care, she wouldn't have asked him if he hated her yesterday. There was only one reason. This girl wanted to tell him that she could pretend that she didn't see it so that he wouldn't feel sorry for her. But he shouldn't keep harping on her shortcomings. She didn't mean to almost kill him and Emo Chinny. She was also very pitiful and innocent, even more understanding than her husband, who was really having an affair. Just as Yang Ching thought about these details and thought that his wife's thinking was a little cute, Lin Ruoshi suddenly stood up and said lightly, "I'm done eating." Then, she turned around and walked upstairs expressionlessly. Yang Chung remembered what he promised Emo Chinny and hurriedly said, "Baby Ruoshi, I'll go to her hometown with Chinny next week to tell you." Lin Ruoshi paused on the stairs and responded with a soft hum. That meant that she understood. Just as Yang Chung expected, Lin Ruoshi didn't ask much, but he didn't know that the two women had already discussed this matter. Yang Chung began to eat alone, but not long after, Lin Ruoshi, who had just gone upstairs, came down again. She had changed into a casual, white chiffon floral dress and was holding a black snakeskin bag. Her black hair was flying in the air, and she looked like a pure college graduate. Yang Chung originally thought that this workaholic would work all day, but suddenly she was dressed so warmly and movingly. He couldn't help but ask, "Wife, where are you going?" Lin Ruoshi sat on the steps of the door, wearing flat pink sneakers as she replied, "I'm going to a place, but it's not the night market." Ahem. Yang Ching almost choked on the omelet and smiled awkwardly. Although this girl didn't intend to say much about this matter, she still felt very uncomfortable in her heart. Since Lin Ruoshi said so, Yang Chung was too embarrassed to ask more. In fact, he didn't blame her. Yesterday's grudge was just a result of not being used to it. Now that his affair was seen by the whole Zhonghai people, he also felt a little guilty at home. What made Yang Chung the most speechless was Mother Wang. She must have known that it was him in the newspaper, but she was still so affectionate, which made Yang Cheng's thick skin feel a little hot. After explaining to his family, Yang Chung called Emo Chinny and told Emo Chinny to book a plane ticket to Sichuan province on Monday. As for how to get to Emo Chinny's hometown in the mountains, they would talk about it there. After watching TV at home for a long time, Yang Chung was about to take a nap after eating the lunch that Mother Wang had carefully prepared. At this time, his phone vibrated again. Yang Chung looked at it and saw that it was a call from Li Jingjing. Since old Li's words last time, Yang Chung didn't contact Li Jingjing again, and Li Jingjing also didn't call or text him again. This was the first time. Hesitating for a moment, afraid that Li Jingjing was in trouble, Yang Chung still picked up the phone. "Jingjing, what's the matter?" Li Jingjing was a little depressed. "If there's nothing, can I not talk to Brother Yang?" Yang Chung sighed in his heart. "Jingjing, you should listen to your father. If there's nothing important, we shouldn't contact each other often. I want Brother Yang to go with me to the orphanage to see the children. Can I?" Li Jingjing asked with some expectation. Yang Chung felt a little uncomfortable in his heart, but thinking of old Li's almost begging look, he still steeled his heart. "Jingjing, you go by yourself. I want to rest for a while." Li Jingjing was silent on the other side of the phone for a while. Then she said it and hung up the phone. Listening to the busy tone coming from the phone, Yang Chung let out a sigh of relief. Rejecting this simple girl was actually very difficult, especially when he thought of the past. Yang Chung felt a little heartache. But since he was living in this ordinary society, he couldn't do whatever he wanted like in the past. If just because he doted on Li Jingjing, he made things difficult for old Li and his wife, Yang Chung would feel sorry for them. It wasn't until dark, when they finished eating, that Lin Ruoshi came back home with a tired look. Her hand was also carrying a big black paper bag. Yang Chung only thought that the bag was filled with some documents or books. After glancing at it, he continued to sit on the sofa and watch TV. He didn't pay much attention to it, but Lin Ruoshi carried the bag all the way to the front and placed the bag in front of Yang Chung. "What is it?" Yang Chung was puzzled. Was it for him? Lin Ruoshi pursed her lips, lowered her eyes, and said a little embarrassedly, "It's autumn, and the temperature in the mountains is very low. Chuan province is also high above sea level, so remember to bring this coat next week." Only then did Yang Chung notice that the word Burberry was printed on the corner of the big black bag. He never dreamed that Lin Ruoshi would bring back a gift for him, especially for going out next week with another woman. Under Lin Ruoshi's somewhat expectant gaze, Yang Cheng tactfully took out the Burberry coat from the big bag. It was a thick, dark-colored coat with large checkered patterns. The style was improved from the classic Burberry British military uniform, and it gave off a calm and capable feeling. Yang Cheng knew that this kind of traditional British luxury brand coat was not cheap, and the one in his hand cost at least 3 months of his salary. This coat is not cheap, is it? Even if Lay sells it, you don't have to choose such a high-end one. I don't wear it often. Yang Cheng was quite appreciative of Lin Ruoshi's taste. After all, she was a woman who was immersed in fashion all year round. So choosing a coat for a man was a piece of cake. Lin Ruoshi listened to Yang Cheng's words, frowned slightly, and asked in a low voice, "You don't like it?" Seeing that she was a little disappointed, Yang Cheng quickly said with a smile, "I just said it's too expensive. I like the coat very much." Lin Ruoshi seemed to be relieved, and the corner of her mouth slightly raised. "It's not expensive, only less than 30,000. After saying that, Lin Ruoshi turned around and quickly walked back upstairs like a breeze, as if she did not want to stay in front of Yang Cheng any longer. Yang Cheng couldn't help but chuckle softly. Nearly 30,000 for a coat. Only this little rich woman would think it was not expensive. Looking at Lin Ruoshi's light footsteps, it was conceivable that she must be very happy, and because it was the first time she bought clothes for a man, she was embarrassed, so she ran away. At this time, Mother Wang happened to come out to call the two of them for dinner. Seeing Lin Ruoshi run upstairs like a frightened rabbit, she couldn't help but ask curiously, "Young master, what's wrong with Miss?" Yang Cheng grinned, raised a new coat in his hand, and said she can't stand being praised by her husband. Mother Wang was also a smart woman, and she immediately understood the meaning of it. She couldn't help but chuckle, and her eyes turned into crescent moons, full of joy. Yang Cheng silently sighed in his heart. At this time, Lin Ruoshi, who looked cute and naive, couldn't be seen as the ruthless business executioner who single-handedly planned the collapse of 2 listed companies. A woman's mind was really deep and bottomless. Chapter 197. On Monday morning, as promised, Yang Cheng came to Zhonghai Airport with a small suitcase. It was the second time he came to the airport in a short period of time, and the person who came with him was still Mo Chinny. However, the relationship between the two had already changed. Mo Chinny was wearing a pair of sunglasses that covered half of her fair and pretty face. She was pulling a huge suitcase and wearing a slightly tight white sportswear that made her look energetic. She was chewing gum, listening to music with earplugs, and looking at her watch. She had been waiting for a long time. Seeing Yang Cheng coming slowly, Mo Chinny playfully pulled down her sunglasses and rolled her eyes. "Why do I have to wait for you every time? Can't you be a gentleman and arrive earlier? It's only been a total of 2 times. What do you mean by every time?" Yang Cheng was not embarrassed at all. He reached his hand directly into Mo Chinny's jacket pocket. "Want to take a piece of gum to eat?" With so many passengers passing by, Mo Chinny was naturally embarrassed. She anxiously reached out and constantly slapped Yang Cheng's arm. "What are you touching for? There's no gum left." Yang Cheng reached empty air, but he was not in a hurry to withdraw his hand. He pinched Mo Chinny's soft and delicate waist a few times through the fabric of her clothes, and only withdrew his hand after he was satisfied. Mo Chinny was so angry that her face turned red. She forcefully pinched Yang Cheng's waist a few times as she angrily muttered, "You only know how to bully a mistress like me. If you have the ability, go and take advantage of your wife." Yang Cheng suddenly thought of saying, "Mistresses have no human rights," but he definitely did not dare to say this in front of Mo Chinny. The two laughed as they got on the plane. It would take them about 4 hours to reach Chuan province. When Yang Cheng saw the sweet smiles on the stewardesses, he was worried about Anshin, that heartless chick. Last time, she mentioned that if he caught her again, she would have to accept her fate. Yang Cheng was thinking if he should check which flight she was on, lest a long night brings trouble. After spending more than 3 hours on the plane, the plane entered the territory of Sichuan province and gradually descended. Out of the thick clouds, they could already see the scenery of Sichuan province from the cabin window. Mo Chinny leaned against the window and stared unblinkingly at the rolling mountains on the land. The verdant scenery was like silk, and she was lost in thought. You haven't been back for more than 10 years, right? Yang Chung saw the sadness in her eyes and was afraid that she would be too excited. So he looked away from Mo Chinny's attention. Mo Chinny's eyes were red. She nodded and said, "Yes, I still remember how hard it was back then. I crawled all the way from the mountains to Zhonghai. I didn't expect that I could take a plane back now. It's like entering another world. Did you bring a gift for your mother?" Yang Chung asked. "I'm not telling you." Speaking of her mother, Mo Chinny's eyes were full of joy and expectation. Obviously, she couldn't wait to see her only relative. After another half an hour, the plane landed at the provincial airport. According to Mo Chinny's hometown, it was located in the inner part of the Chilean mountains. It was a small mountain village called Kunshan Village. Because the road was too remote, they had to first take a train to the outer part of the mountain, then take a bus on a mountain road to enter the inner part, and finally walk for more than 10 miles on foot. When Yang Chung heard this series of traffic process, his scalp went numb. He couldn't help but ask Mo Chinny, "Your hometown, it can't be that there's no electricity, right?" Mo Chinny glared at him. "How can my mother call me without electricity? It's just that the traffic is inconvenient, but the power lines are still put in. Our village is not a small village. Adding up the north and south parts, there are hundreds of families." Yang Chung let out a sigh of relief. Things like candlelight dinners once in a while were good, but too many would make him nauseous. After the two took a taxi to the train station, they found out that the train to the small town station under the Chilean mountains was an old-fashioned one. Not only was it slow and loud, it would only depart after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After buying the tickets, the two casually made up lunch at the snack bar outside the station, and then got on the train. There weren't many people in the train carriage. When the train started, there were only a dozen or so people in the carriage. Most of them were villagers who came out to sell some local products. As soon as they sat on the hard seat of the train, Mo Chinny dozed off. She lay on the table in front of her seat, and even though the train was so noisy, she still fell asleep quickly. Because the train had to travel for 2 hours, there were 3 stops in between. After a while, when they arrived at the first station, a group of people got on. It was a group of men with shoulder poles and coarse cloth bags. Some of them even had cigarettes in their mouths, and the pungent smell immediately made the carriage full of smoke. Since there was almost no railway regulation here, and the equipment was old, there was no one to restrain the rough behavior of these mountain men. Everyone was used to wearing muddy overshoes on the train, and the dirt on the ground was all over the place. Mo Chinny was woken up by the unpleasant smell and noisy talking. She opened her eyes drowsily and saw that there were many people around, and they were smoking unscrupulously, which made her frown. After leaving this land for a long time, she suddenly felt very uncomfortable facing this group of people who had not changed at all. At this time, the group of men were also looking at Yang Chung and Mo Chinny, especially a few lecherous ones who kept staring at Mo Chinny. Most of the women in the mountains were careless because they worked all year round. Their faces were dark, and their cheeks were bright red. There was no woman like Mo Chinny, who was dressed fashionably and had a delicate complexion like water. Moreover, at this moment, because she was feeling uncomfortable, her eyebrows were slightly knitted, just like Lin Daiyu, who had caught a cold and was lying in bed, which made the blood of all men boil. Finally, a black-faced man couldn't help but leave his seat and directly sat next to Yang Chung. While glancing at Mo Chinny's slightly nervous face, he grinned at Yang Chung, revealing a mouthful of yellow and black teeth. "Brother, where are you from?" Yang Chung was looking out the window at the mountain scenery that was slowly passing by. He didn't pay much attention to the changes in the carriage. Hearing the black-faced man's Sichuan accent, Yang Chung smiled. "From Zhonghai." "Zhonghai?" The black-faced man seemed to have seen something strange and looked up and down at Yang Chung a few times. "No wonder you're wearing clothes. From the looks of it, you look different from the countryside here." The news on TV always talks about the houses in Zhonghai. That building is really tall. Hey, you guys live in such a tall building. Aren't you afraid it will collapse? Faced with such a seemingly nonsensical question, Yangcheng also didn't know how to answer. I don't know, never thought about it. The other mountain men who got in the carriage with him laughed. Black Loach, don't talk nonsense. If you have something to fart, just say it. Black Loach glared at them, then said to Yangcheng, Brother, are you going to the mountains? What are you doing? To see a very important person. Yangcheng said vaguely. Seeing that Yangcheng and a man called Black Loach were actually chatting, Imo helplessly turned her head to look out the window and pretended not to know anything. Black Loach chuckled. Brother, your wife is really beautiful. Our mountains don't have one like her in hundreds of years. Those women all have thicker hands than us men, and the hair on their legs is enough to replace the hair on their heads. Yangcheng couldn't deny it and smiled. He noticed that Imo Chin's shoulders were clearly trembling. It seemed that the women in the mountains included her and her mother, and this made her very unhappy. Black Loach suddenly moved closer to Yangcheng's ear and said in a low voice, Brother, us brothers all want to try something new. How about you ask your wife to do us a favor and let us brothers have some fun in the car? Although he had purposely lowered his voice, it was still very rough. Imo Chin, who was sitting across from him, could still vaguely hear it. Imo Chin, who had long been disgusted by this group of people, finally couldn't help but slam the table. Her face turned red as she angrily scolded, Hooligans! Get out of here! When Imo Chin got angry, she didn't expect that she would fall into the trap of this group of mountain men who had discussed it before. The 5 or 6 mountain men who were originally sitting on the side all stood up and surrounded him with evil grins on their faces. They were all wearing rough clothes and carrying shoulder poles. Black Loach also stood up and said loudly with a displeased expression, Little wife, who are you calling a hooligan? What did we say to you, or did we do to you? Do you think we mountain people are easy to bully? Some of the other passengers in the car also noticed the situation over here. Some of them knew what was going on with one look and looked at Imo Chin with sympathetic gazes. However, some of them were still gloating and planned to watch a good show. It seemed like this kind of thing hadn't happened in the past 1 or 2 days. You guys. Imo Chin also realized that she had fallen into a trap. Seeing that there were at least 6 men surrounding the seat, she couldn't casually say what Black Loach had said. Moreover, it was useless even if she said it. This group of people had purposely latched onto her and wanted to take advantage of her. Yangcheng stood up and grabbed Imo Chin's hand, squeezing it. Only then did Imo Chin remember that Yangcheng was beside her. She couldn't help but relax. She knew that Yangcheng had a more terrifying side to him. Naturally, these people were nothing to him. However, it was clear that the displeasure in her heart wasn't so easily appeased. Brother, this wife of yours isn't kind. She didn't give me, Black Loach, any face in front of so many people. If we don't get an explanation, it won't be easy for us in the future, Black Loach said righteously. The other men also chimed in and stared at Imo Chin's body. Yangcheng comforted Imo Chin to sit down. Just as he was considering whether to beat this group of people to the ground or abandon the train and let them walk back to the mountains, the situation suddenly changed. A long bamboo pole suddenly came from a slanted angle and smashed into the head of a man who was standing in the encirclement.